you coming at the king, so you better not miss. And we only get stronger with everything I carry up on.
𝘀𝗀, what's your 50?
50% is GAM goes undefeated.
Loggers.
50. Oi, oi, oi.
𝘀𝗀 coming in with the spicy takes. A 50% chance for an undefeated split.
Zero maps
I
drop.
can see it.
We need to mark that one down, because that's a bold call.
What a performance from them in their opening
50%
game of
is
the split.
GAM
Down,
goes undefeated.
reigning champions of GAM, and this is how you start your VCS 2021 winter campaign with a bang and a half. Incredible performance from 𝘀𝗶𝗹𝗀 Esports.
50% is GAM goes undefeated.
GAM goes undefeated.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the VCS Analyst Desk. We had an enjoyable hour and 20-minute break, and we hope you enjoyed that little piece of content we've made about one of our desk analysts. Welcoming back two of the finest gentlemen we have here in 𝘀𝗀 and 𝘀𝗀. 𝘀𝗀, keep your eyes covered, bud. That's not going to help you out at any standard. As we get into our final series of the week, final series of the day, of course, between the side of GAM Esports and 𝘀𝗀. Our first series of the day was pretty interesting. I actually want to kick us off before we, of course, get a chance to talk about and rip a little bit more on 𝘀𝗀 about his prediction on the season, is a little bit more about the split so far as a total. And what I want to do here actually is early season surprises from both of you. I want you both to give me a player that has really given you a lot of hope, or kind of been a little bit more of a disappointment to you as the season has started. Somebody that everybody out there, after all of the games we've been through already, can kind of hang your hat on as being somebody to keep your eyes on.
So in past games, we've talked a lot about Killer Queen and Penguin surprising us and coming up, but my eyes have been caught by actually one of the veterans of the league in Celebrity, and he and 𝘀𝑠PTC have had a stellar performance in these first few games, and it's really heartwarming for me because in secret last split in spring. He had quite a rough time. He still was one of the good players in the team, but the team as a whole didn't have much of a direction, and he was kind of struggling. But I'm glad that he's back in form, and I really want to see a standout split for Celebrity to kind of cementify his place as a veteran in the VCS.
And my player to watch, or player that shocked me in the positive way, would be 𝘀𝗀. He has been a very stellar AD carry so far for 𝘀𝗀. He has played the meta AD carries, he played hyper carries, he played 𝘬𝗊 with the lethality build, and he's kind of a unique AD carry compared to the other AD carries who usually just kind of result to Jhin and misfortune all the time. And I really want to highlight him because he has been rarely detrimental in the losses for 𝘀𝗀 so far, but very detrimental in the wins for them.
Good choices for the both of you. Keeping our eyes on some of the veteran ADCs within the league after all the hype that we've been able to garner behind a bunch of the other players that have come about. The one I'm telling everybody to keep their eyes on is 𝘀𝗀. I was hyping him up in the previous split when 𝘀𝗀ry came in. They didn't have a good split. He had some moments of okay performance, but really kind of struggled alongside the rest of the team. Seems to have really come into his own with the combination of the Twisted Fate and the Rise. But, of course, now all of that doesn't matter. Our first week in the books, for the most part, we're down to our final series, GAM versus 𝘀𝗀. 𝘀𝗀, I know you've got some very raring opinions about the side of GAM specifically, but more importantly, I mean, we're predicting this team, GAM, to walk in number one in the split, and that's not a shocking thing for a lot of people because they won our previous split. They won a bunch of previous splits. They were one of the best teams on paper walking into this split and the previous. They were amazing leading up to this point. And yet somehow they're off to an 0-2 start. They did play some solid competition. Do you believe that this is just that slow start? Sometimes they have this. This happened in 2020 as well. Or do you believe that there's a deeper seated problem to try to keep track of and see whether or not it can actually get fixed up, 𝘀𝗀?
I mean, there's a little bit of two sides to look at here for GAM. I mean, in the first days, it was kind of a bad meta read for them. They always played this 𝘀𝗰𝗋 single AP source, which is, of course, a disease spreading through all the VCS, as we know. But that's also like a thing to highlight there. They are mechanically very proficient players. I mean, we see 𝘁𝗀𝗋, he wasn't really laning badly, he had very good CS numbers, even in losing matchups. 𝘁𝗀𝗋 also mechanically very, very sound. It's just a little bit of their decision making in the mid game that was detrimental to them losing the games. And I mean, the series against 𝘀𝗶𝗹𝗀 still, of course, one of the top teams with 𝘀𝗀𝗋. It was a 2-1. It could have gone either way, I would say. So it's not like all doomed for GAM at all. There are still a lot of things to take away from them. And I think if they just get that clear head for them, do not reinvent the wheel all over again, they can maybe just start today with getting some confidence and getting a 2-0 or at least a 2-1 against versus 𝘀𝗀𝗋.
Even though my prediction of a lossless split from GAM is already gone, and my dum-dum hat is there ready to fit on my head, I still think GAM can very well pick it back up. My main concern is that in these first matches, they have shown a lot of focus on the Dragon setup, which is not an objective that has been shown to be really worth of so much attention, both at Worlds and so far in the VCS. So I think that in this match and in next week, if they shift their focus on more towards the top side, as they used to do in spring, then they should be able to pick the wins that they need to come back at the top.
And staying with you, Mr. 50%, let's take the other side of the coin, I suppose, with BTS, because on one hand, GAM is expected to be #1 team. They're expected to be at the top of the rung. Whereas BTS, I mean, we even expected them coming into the split to not necessarily be the most competitive team. They didn't make a bunch of positive roster swaps. They didn't do a bunch outside of really credible, kind of player growth coming out from this team, leading from last split to this one. We weren't expecting them to make much of a jump. And it seems like that might be the case. And so do you see anything that might suggest a potential positive outlook? And, not even talking like playoff contention or even like getting into playoffs. I'm talking like 5th, 6th place, not getting into relegations again type of bright spot, because this team could be put into a really rough place and losing another game against the side of GAM.
Sure. So their first two matches were kind of not the easiest one, because, of course, as you said, if they want to get 5th, 6th, they just need to win against 𝘀𝗋𝗋 and Secret mainly. And they now faced 𝘀𝗀𝗋s at the top and Buffalo, I believe, yes, who they took a win off. So it's not that bad of a start, despite the 0 series win. I think they should build a bit more on their new AD carry 𝘀𝗋𝗋, who so far has shown okay performances, and 𝘁𝗀𝗋 also has stepped up. So I think the bot lane might be some starting point where they can build up some dynamics and some winning strategy. So I don't think it's all that doom for the BTS.
Yeah, I can totally echo that statement. I mean, it's just maybe that they got a little bit walked by the strength of schedule so far. I mean, they played 𝘀𝗀𝗋, they played like in Buffalo. Two teams are on the upper side of the table. Took a win from Buffalo, as 𝘀𝗋𝗋 just said. And yeah, I mean, 𝘀𝗋𝗋 has been playing fine. With 𝘀𝗀𝗋, we know that he can also play better. I mean, it's not all doomed for them at all. I think that there certainly is some room to grow for this team. And yeah, if you're just better than Team Secret and Team 𝘀𝗋, you're already down out of the bottom two. And some weird silver lining I might add is that there is no relegation to split, as it is just the winter split, which is an unusual thing. So there is no fear in getting relegated, even if you happen to not to perform that well.
Interesting point, making sure that these teams aren't in that big of a problem. Not to say that it's a chalked up split, but at minimum, we're not too worried. We have much more time to develop towards the spring split. So as we're approaching the draft relatively quickly, I'll ask you just to keep your answers relatively light, but this is some hard-hitting stuff that I want answers to. We'll start with you, 𝘀𝗀𝗋. I mean, GAM needs to get back on track. What is it going to take in this series specifically for you to convince you that they're not in free fall, that they're not struggling, and they should be considered still one of our top 3 teams, top 4 teams inside of the split? How much is GAM going to have to do in order for you to be convinced of that against BTS today?
I mean, not too much. I mean, as I just touched on earlier, not reinvent the wheel. Just have a good series. Just draft meta compositions. Do not shoehorn your comp into one style that falls off massively after the early game, like they had with this 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀𝗀, which I didn't really like. Just play some standard League of Legends and beat BTS here. And you don't need to show like the super fancy stuff that maybe 𝘀𝗶𝗹𝗀𝗀 and 𝘀𝚀ie has been playing. That is something that you might get on in the later weeks. But to just show that you're not in a free fall, just play standard and just take a win here.
I didn't catch a prediction in there either. What are you predicting for the series? At the beginning of the split, obviously, we all had our predictions for what this week was. This week's been thrown into utter chaos, so I'll give you a chance to recant that if you absolutely want to. What is your prediction right now for the series today?
I think 𝘀𝗹𝗀 obviously had 2-0 for GAM because we all expected GAM to be a clear top team. But now I might just lean into the 2-1, but if I'm completely honest, I would still say 2-0 for GAM.
Okay. That's more than reasonable. They're still up there in a lot of people's minds, and I don't think that we've lost that quite yet. And for you, Clockwork, I mean, BTS, do they have a chance to compete today? If so, where's it stemming from? Is it enough to overcome GAM? Do you see them having a realistic chance inside of the series? And if so, who's the person that they're going to have to rely on?
As we have seen, jungle mid is a duo that needs to work if you want to get some wins in the VCS. And at the moment, despite GAM's underperformance, I think that 𝘀𝗀𝗃 and 𝘀𝗀𝗃 have a tall task to face up against this duo. They can still do it. I think that is the main focus, the main area that they should focus on if they want to clinch a win against GAM. My main point of concern, however, is the top lane. I'm not happy with how Ryuk has played. And in general, I might go along with 𝘀𝗀𝗃 in calling for a 2-0 GAM. I would not be surprised if BTS managed to snatch a win coming from the bot lane that I mentioned before. GAM still hasn't decided if they want to go with the style or a div kit. So this could be also some point that they can exploit to get some upset wins.
All right, 2 calls potentially for the 2-0 coming out from GAM, still wanting to see our top team has some solid performance. And I think that's reasonable, expecting a team of what should be superstars to come out and beat down a team that, again, has been predicted at the bottom rung of the type of league. And I agree with you. Ryuk is on my shit list, I guess is how I'm going to put it, because he has been really bad to start the split. It's been very hard to watch that top lane, unfortunately, unfold. And I had high hopes because that first game didn't look terrible. It was silent, but it didn't look terrible. But then things have gone somehow downhill much, much faster for the side of BTS's top laner, unfortunately. Now, interestingly, I actually want to pigeonhole directly into what is our jungle matchup today, because that's one of the more important ones we see on the map in most series, but also especially in this, because on one hand, you're going to get Burst the Skies 𝘀𝗃𝗃, and there's no bias on this desk whatsoever, but I think that he's a fantastic jungler. And he's up against 𝘁𝗀𝗏, who hasn't had the greatest opening to a split, given that he is kind of the superstar of the league of GAM. What are we expecting from these two today, not only in terms of like gameplay against one another, but in terms of draft? Are we expecting 𝘁𝗏𝗏 to have some kind of, newfangled angle? Is he going back to the farming jungler? If so, is 𝘀𝗃𝗃 going to go for aggressive? We're going to kick off the draft as much as possible, but I want to hear your thoughts on this, Clockwork.
Well, we know that 𝘀𝗃𝗃 is one of these very aggressive jungler that tries to go for lots of early plays. He should have all the tools to pull that off, but I'm not convinced that he is on the same page of the meta, because we've seen him playing some 𝘀𝗀𝗃, which is a bit of an old tech, if you ask me, and indeed he hasn't had the best success on it. But for example, they banned the Graves as well. So I'm not too sure what they are going to give.
I'm going to jump in really quick, Clockwork. I just want to make sure that this is clear. First off, the fact that we've been zooming through this draft already, but then the fact also that instead of prioritizing for what is div kit and 𝘁𝗏, who have been a fantastic bot lane, the 𝘁𝗀𝗏 and 𝗀𝗏, instead they go to the Jhin and the Yuumi to actually come out. And it is the response from 𝘀𝗏𝗍 and Elio in the bottom side, the 𝘁𝗀𝗏 and 𝗀𝗏 combination coming out from BTS to have their aggression in the bottom side. 𝘀𝗀𝗃, thoughts on giving up that 𝘁𝗀𝗏 and 𝗀𝗏 combination for the Jhin? Is it this pick that high priority? We've seen it all week in the VCS, but do you make good of that kind of deal?
No, I don't. I want to change my prediction immediately. It's what my first thought was of that, because they just gave Evolution Navi. They just saw how good Evolution Navi is by 𝘀𝗀cie. They didn't play that well. It still absolutely smashed it in the mid game. Yeah, not really feeling the Jin Yuumi combination at all from them. It's Yuumi, and they probably play like some bruiser style or some strong champion for either Levi or 𝘀𝗀ie, and it might just work out fine for them. But giving Evolution Navi is such a huge risk, and I think it was not needed to pull off such a huge risk against BTS. Just either pick the Lucian away, or I don't know. Don't first pick Jin. This is not something that the strong teams should do, and this is one of the things we addressed earlier that would convince me that GAM is indeed not in a position to stabilize, and indeed in a little bit of a free fall.
Yana here?
That is a pick and a half. It's been this takes us back to the beginning of summer, right? Clockwork with like the Diana had poked their way in. It was one of those AP junglers that stuck around for the majority of the split, but I mean, we did not see even an ounce of her at Worlds.
Okay, so I'm looking at Burst the Sky. I'm like, this looks like a burst to the sky. All the knockups with the Wukong, with the Nami, with the Jarvan. This is going to be a hell of a game for 𝘀𝘀cie. He will probably never be allowed to ult, and all the gap closers of 𝘁𝗏 and Levi will be very hard to pull off with this against this composition. So I really like what Sky has drafted here.
Same actually. I mean, they have the winning top lane matchup. They have the Lucian Nami in the bot lane. There's not much wrong that can go wrong in these side lanes there, unless they get like absolutely stormed in the individual skill, and that's something you cannot influence with the draft. So I would say draft is a pretty clear win for BTS actually this time, because I'm really not convinced by the Jin first pick, and then they also Jayce and Diana. I mean, Diana hasn't been played at all so far, and the Jayce blind, of course. Jayce never really hard loses any matchup at all, because he is that strong early. He is a ranged top laner, but Jayce into Wukong is also something that you're not too happy with, I would say.
All right, gentlemen, we're at that time. Predictions: GAM, BTS. One word. What you got?
GAM. Better draft always loses.
GAM, and we get BTS. Did I hear one in there?
Oh, of course, BTS. Let's go.
Oh, wow. Okay. Split on the desk already. A prediction for BTS. Somebody bidding against 𝘁𝗏. And that is, of course, the person who predicted that GAM would go undefeated. Our analyst desk completely well thought out as much as possible. Nonetheless, 𝘀𝗏, we're kicking off the day. Last game of the first week. GAM versus BTS.
And what a game it is. Two of our bottom teams here in the VCS. Just absolute garbage dwellers aren't GAM. They've been, jokes aside, obviously, they are not garbage dwellers. They are one of our better teams, or at least they should be, as we do head onto Summoner's Rift. GAM looking to stabilize a terrible start to the split. They've gone to a very classic GAM style of composition here. They've got 𝘁𝗏 on set, Levi on an AP jungler, and 𝘀𝗏 on a top laner he can carry with.
Oh yes. So the core of the team definitely looking comfortable, but are they on the correct champions for the meta? So I think this is very much a GAM draft, but is it an 11-21 draft? That has to be determined. I'm not sure about this Diana pick. I definitely agree with you that it should fit their style. It gives Levi playmaking potential and carry potential in the late game.
Well,
it will take a while to get going though, and if it falls behind, Diana is pretty bad. It's one of the... She got nerfed pretty hard, so she's not super great right now, just looking at the tier list of meta junglers. So this is already a little bit out of left field.
It is very interesting. The thing with Diana is that Levi loves AP junglers, right? His Karthus is legendary. He plays the Shyvana, that kind of thing. But he doesn't play AP engage very often.
Very true.
He mostly plays, you know, those mid-range kind of carry champions. Diana has to be in the middle of the team. So I actually think it's bridging the gap and letting Levi play a style of champion that, or at least he's playing this AP jungler. He knows how to farm on them. He knows how to path on them. But he's also providing the engage that GAM desperately needs.
This might just be a crutch. We talked last series about Luxury's meta read and potentially their meta read boosting them up in the standings. I think GAM has a little bit of the opposite going on for them. They've played set top lane. They're trying to adapt with a different meta read in the jungle as well. Now trying to put B on Yuumi to desperately get the Yuumi in there, but B has never played Enchanters, or almost never. He's the Braum guy, and he's amazing at that, so let's see if they can make it stick, because I'm really worried for them. If their meta read is still this far behind, then this could really go off to a bad start. They should be able to just beat BTS of hand stiff, but there's one player I am having my eyes on. I'm glued to the screen.
Oh, 𝘁𝗏𝗏. Perfect trading there. This man plays a lot of set, and he trades that out perfectly. 𝘀cie is going to move forward with that E cooldown coming back up. Lands the chains. We'll go in. We'll get a chomp. He's got no kill threat here, but it is a lot of damage.
Yeah, no mana though, so he traded a little bit of lane positioning and HP advantage for all his mana. This might actually favor 𝘁𝗏𝗏 because Set has so much sustain.
Oh, but he goes back in. The Haymaker comes out, so that shield is now gone. 𝘀cie actually keeps him honest, forces him back. And 𝘁𝗏𝗏 is
a legendary set player, so that is quite a set player, of course. It's quite surprising to see 𝘀cie do so well in the early game. 𝘁𝗏𝗏 not having the greatest week of his life either, so maybe it's just a little bit of rust coming in from all the gun players. Bot lane is dominated right now. That is to be expected though. It's Lucian Army, and it's not only Lucian Army. This is where my eyes are drawn on the screen. It's Lucian for one of the most famous VCS Lucian players we have. One of my favorite Lucian players is Levi is looking for something, but not quite close
Doesn't
enough.
quite find it. And
For anyone not familiar with 𝘀𝗏𝗏, he was the star player of FTV under the name of Police, and his two main champions were Lucian and Caitlyn, and I believe there's an amazing pentakill for him somewhere in our archives. So yeah, I was always a huge fan of Police. He's finally back in the starting position, and one of his favorite champions, one of the favorite meta champions right now. I'm really excited to see if he can carry against GAM.
Yeah, 𝘁𝗏𝗏 off to a really good start here up against Ryuk. That is a player, I should say, that our analyst desk had a lot of criticism for, and perhaps we're seeing why as he gets a bit of a spanking and has to go back to base. Does have that teleport, so no huge problem. So 𝘁𝗏𝗏 on this Jace is off to a lovely start here. He is about a wave ahead, but 𝘀𝗏𝗏's 2 levels up on 𝘁𝗏𝗏. He's getting absolutely pounded on this set. He's moving forward now. He still has access to the Haymaker, but he just can't fight a level 5 Sylas.
Yeah, constantly going for the trades as well. You're more of an expert on both of these champions, actually. So, how do you think both players so far have been handling this matchup? I think 𝘀𝗏𝗏 using absolutely every opportunity to trade, using his W, maxing his W most likely as well.
Yeah,
looking at the damage.
This matchup, as he does get face broken in, the Haymaker will land. Levi was around, so 𝘀𝗏𝗏 couldn't actually answer anything back. Set into Sylas is actually one of those lane matchups that's, you know, kind of typical set things where you kind of get poked down a bunch, but you should still do okay. He's currently, 5 CS down, no big deal, because yeah, you're set, so if you go low, you heal up really quickly because of Heart of the Half Beast, but it's Sylas. You move up to punch a minion and he just bites you.
Well, and we're definitely seeing some of that, but as you pointed out, 𝘁𝗏𝗏's still keeping up in CS. He's the master of keeping up against pressure.
Stolen ultimate, they're going under tower. This is really risky against the Haymaker shield into the facebreaker. 𝘀𝗏𝗏, you can't do that!
Such a huge mistake. Everyone knows that's how set works. Even without the ultimate, he had such a huge shield there, and 𝘀𝗏𝗏, he played on the edge, but this time he was pushed from the edge and into his grave, giving 𝘁𝗏𝗏 such a huge advantage for free. He was so far ahead, he had all the lane pressure, he had the experience advantage, and now 𝘁𝗏𝗏 has an ult lead. 𝘁𝗏𝗏 is going to be able to collect all the CS, pushing in the wave, hitting level 6, should now actually be ahead in experience, because First Blood Gold experience, of course, gives you a little bit of that too. And that's the first action on the map. Everything else has been so tame, and absolutely no reason to go for this kind of risk when you have Police, or 𝘀𝗏𝗏𝗏 I should say, Lucian in the back to carry you in the late game.
Yeah, that is just such a huge mistake there. It's just honestly just not understanding. I hope you don't mind if I steal this replay a little bit. You go in with that showstopper there, it just doesn't matter. it doesn't do any damage because Set can press W as the animation for the ultimate starts, and he still gets the shield. You never, ever, ever get away with that. As 𝘀𝗀 now is in a fair bit of trouble. That's a good exhaust coming out. They're putting some damage onto B, but it's just not going to stick because it is a Yuumi. And now the flash comes in, and that's Levi, level 6 already, and 𝘁𝗏 comes in for the assist.
And of course, 𝘁𝗏's there as well, because that's always how he's playing this this set. It's his main champion. It's maybe his favorite champion, definitely our favorite champion to watch him on, because he's such an amazing set player, always keeping up in lane, sometimes even getting solo kills. Like in this game, it counts. It does count. But
it counts.
He really shines when he gets out of lane, and we had some concerns for this player, because in the first week so far, with his attempts on the Galio, yes, some engages, some mechanical things looked great, but he just didn't get his side lanes ahead enough. But now it's a 2k gold lead out of nowhere for GAM against BTS, one of the contenders for worst team, unfortunately, so far. And this is the opportunity for GAM to get it rolling. Last series of the week, we only have 1 day of a break, so this can really carry over in week 2, and GAM can start the comeback for the first spot.
𝘀𝗀, though, do have priority here on the top side of the river. They moved first, and they've moved very quickly. This Rift Herald going low, the eye being popped. Levi still not in range. They need to rush. Will that eye open? It's going to be critical. It will, and 𝘀𝗏 can secure it with a smite. So 𝘀𝗀 get one against the grain.
Yeah, and GAM a little bit behind play. They should have adapted here and tried to maybe go for 1 or 2 plates in the bot lane. Especially because the bot lane tower is already on only 3 plates. Yes, it's harder to take the next few plates, but if you get it down to 1 plate or 1.5 plates, that's a push into roam, into dive, and then first tower as well against the run of play, against the big objective that is the Rift Herald. So I think GAM definitely misreading the situation there and anticipating that it would take 𝘀𝗏 a little bit longer to go there. Instead, they just wasted time of everyone, even 𝘀𝗀 and B moved up. So yeah, a little bit of a macro mistake, but GAM shouldn't cost them too much because they're ahead. So just the 320 gold out of that Rift Herald, if it even comes to that, because all the lanes are getting pushed in.
Oh, there it is. Look at the combo. The show gets stopped. He steals away the Diana ult, but it's not going to do anything at all as the laser comes down and the moon is blessed.
Here we are with 𝘁𝗏 on his favorite champion, already putting together a highlight reel after a rough laning phase early on. That's another kill for him, and that is more time. 𝘀𝗏 can't... Oh, 𝘀𝗏?
𝘁𝗏 has a big shield. 𝘀𝗏 can't do much about this one, just immediately flashing away.
That's huge. Flash for a J4 is actually quite a big tool. You never want to waste the flash of a J4. He didn't get any early ganks off, which is already an indictment of how inefficient this pick has been for them. Because J4 always wants to be ahead in the early game, especially against something like the scaling force that is Diana. J4 against Diana in the late game, you do not want to be on the J4 side of things. So, already not the greatest game for 𝘀𝗏, unfortunately, for our big 𝘀𝗏 fan club that has reported in today once again, but they might have to wait for a second game.
Yeah, look, there might be a fire sale on toasters needed for the 𝘀𝗏 fan club. A bit of a tradition for them, as he is off to this bad start. Also, the top lane continues to get worse and worse. Even though it has been isolated, it has been pretty independent of the kills and stuff coming in the rest of the map. It is still that 20 CS lead being built up for 𝘁𝗏, as 𝘁𝗏 once again trading out well.
Honestly, the 20 CS lead is fine, though, in this matchup, not only because of the player gap, also the matchup being much more favorable for Jayce, especially in the early stages of the game. So keeping it kind of close in the CS department is what 𝘀𝗀 has to do. He's still going to be a huge teamfight force, especially with the buffs from Nami. Nami, Wukong, really dirty in the late game. Wukong slows with everything, gets extra speed, gets extra burst damage to get over the top, and maybe get those first targets low enough for 𝘀𝗏 to strike. So there's still a lot of teamfight potential.
Setting up, has the moonfall.
He also has
a cat
the
as
Yuumi.
well. Yeah, they can go in with the final chapter, but with the wave being instantly cleared, they decide against it.
This might actually be... Oh, never mind. No time for me to talk. Is 𝘀𝗀 getting caught horribly in that spot?
Just absolutely destroyed there as the bubble did nothing. And there's a good showstopper stolen away by Sylas. 𝘀𝗀 using it to get some distance back towards his tower. And all of those Jhin shots missed, but no harm, no foul, I suppose. But with 𝘀𝗋𝗋 coming in, there may well just be some harm, as there is the Cataclysm coming out of Jarvan. Levi's in trouble, and it's 2 against it for 𝘀cie.
And that's a really good play for 𝘀cie. It looked dire already in this game, but that's a huge shutdown going over to the J4 as well, so giving him a little bit of an extra boost in income. This is going to be even more income.
Careful.
Yeah, 𝘀cie should be fine. He wants to stay close enough, of course, to get the gold. Yeah, there he goes. So a little bit of gold into the mid and jungle combination that has been struggling so far in this game. Still a big lead for GAM, but it has closed a little bit. It's less than 2k now, so 𝘀cie trying to keep it close and getting to those team fights, as I said before. It's the first kill for 𝘀𝗋𝗋, and 𝘀𝗋𝗋, he is well and truly online now in this game. First item should be finished in just a second, just the next recall. So even though they haven't been able to really funnel gold into him, he's still pretty strong. This is just a one-shot. Now this is quite interesting, because I think GAM went a little too far, a little too deep. They're too close to the tower. 𝘁𝗏 can't really tank forever.
And 𝘀𝗋𝗋 found 𝑑ivKid ulting, so he just takes him out of the fight completely.
And this opens up 𝘁𝑟ie to re-engage in 𝘀𝗏. He has no flash, but he does have the ultimate, and that's enough to catch out 2 of the members of GAM. So 2 easy kills back to them, and 𝘀cie gets the dragon as well. They even got the dragon before this play, I believe. So yeah, the dragon's already up. This means there's no easy snowballing option in terms of objectives for GAM either, so they have to play this game quite seriously and can't go into the let's have a happy game, we're 5k gold ahead at 15 minutes kind of GAM style we're used to seeing, especially against teams like BTS.
See, you say that, but you know they will. GAM, it doesn't matter if GAM has never won a game in a split, they will still have their happy games, they will still play the way they enjoy it, the way that has brought them a lot of success in the past, but it needs to bring them success here as 𝘀𝗏 moving forward immediately onto 𝘁𝗀kid, there's a culling, and it takes down the fish.
And BTS coming back with some nice proactive plays. 𝘁𝑟ie has never ceased his aggression. Early on it cost him, but it still gives his team opportunities. Nice run from 𝘀𝗋𝗋 and 𝘁𝑟ie. 𝘁𝑟ie collecting the kill is actually not too bad. Once again, I'm stressing this point almost every Enchanter game, but especially with this champion. Oh, 𝘁𝑟ie needs to be careful. There we go.
He's alright.
Nami spikes super hard in one item, and so does 𝘀𝑇ion, obviously, because he gets all the buffs from Nami. So you really want to get her to the one item power spike. Afterwards, it doesn't really matter too much. Of course, she gets stronger, her heals get better, and so on. You get the AoE heal reduction if you go for the item. But the one item is really where it all comes together for the Nami. So giving her the kill, or her collecting the kill, is not too bad for you.
It's not terrible, as GAM will start up this second Rift Herald as well. They couldn't get to that first one. BTS just had better, or 𝘀𝗏 I should say, just had better timing on it, but Levi has full control over the second one, of course not nearly as valuable once plates are gone, but can be used to open up the map.
𝘁𝗏 already taking the tower without any Rift Herald interaction there, so that's a huge boon for GAM, because now top lane is open, and we can see Levi moving into the top jungle. There's nothing for him to take in terms of jungle camps, so he might just go towards top lane and pressure the secondary turret. That would be so much gold into 𝘁𝗏's pockets, and 2-item Jace this early in the game basically one-shots Nami.
Oh yeah. But we do have Ryuk with his first item. The Divine Sundra has been collected, so this Wukong, they have to respect it at the very least, even though it is obviously very, very far behind in CS. And there we go, 𝘀𝗏 diving on in. Once again, this Cataclysm living up to its name as they immediately blow up the front line from GAM. 3 of them have been cleaned out. 𝘁𝗏 and B on the run. He's trying to turn it back around onto Ryuk. Ryuk just needs to buy time. This Jace is terrifying, but they just let him go. They'll take a mid lane tower as their prize.
It was so funny from 𝘀𝗏. They just all ignored their top laner, and Ryuk screaming on the side, please help me, there's a top laner, he's trying to kill me. And finally, after taking a minute or so, contemplating if it's really worth saving Ryuk there, they save him in the end. And it's a huge win for 𝘀𝗏. Their teamfight composition is scary. GAM needs to step back and actually think about what they're doing here, because now the game's even. And 𝘀𝗏, with 𝘀𝗋𝗋 scaling up, with Ryuk scaling up, and especially the mid lane, together with 𝘀𝗏, providing all the burst damage, This is a super scary composition. Look at this. Levi insta-dies, and there's nothing for him to do.
And this is, I really, really want to praise 𝘀𝗀 here, because this last bit of the replay doesn't really matter. We'll just let it play out.
It's just fun.
𝘀𝗀 has been finding angles consistently. The last 2 Jarvan ultimates have resulted in multiple kills.
Yeah, and Nami's ultimates and positioning, 𝘀𝗀 always one of the most underrated support players in the league, in my opinion. And he's very good when it comes to positioning. He's a master of Bard. He knows exactly where to go. And his Nami movement so far in this game, very impressive too. Was under threat a few times, very perilous situations. Of course, he got caught once. But other than that, staying far behind and using exactly the correct spells at the correct time. This is another dive attempt. 𝘁𝗏 is on a pink ward, so not spotted.
They back right off, respecting the fact that that tower was incredibly low. It wasn't really worth dying to defend. And GAM do move back into the lead, but it's a very, very slim one. Only 600 gold here at 18 minutes your way.
Yeah,
they've thrown away their lead.
Matter. The gold really doesn't matter at this point because their composition is just much... Wow. Police, we didn't see that. The composition is just much worse at full-on 5v5 team fights. You can win team fights, but they have to be a little bit prolonged. You need to poke. You need to find a nice engage from the Diana from the other side, maybe, together with the 𝘁𝗏. If it's just a face-off in the mid lane, like 𝘂rem style team fighting, without much preparation, it's always going to be 𝘁𝗏 that comes out ahead. They have so much more consistent damage. They have so many CC tools in their arsenal. So...
Oh,
okay, 𝘀𝗀 just refusing to dodge that spell, but he should be fine.
He's fine. He has flag and drag if he was ever in trouble, but they've caught onto 𝘁𝗏. But with the rest of the team coming in, I don't think they really want to catch him. 𝘀𝗀 has stolen away the showstopper, so this Sylas can make something happen. 𝘀𝗀 incredibly low, but all he has to do is get in there and press the summoner spell your way.
Look at Ryuk. Look at the
2,000 health. They're moving in. Who's going to get the dragon? That's where my eyes are. It is going to go over to Lucian. Skye picking that one up, and Ryuk finds a lovely engage into the backside. That Cyclone is doing horrible things to GAM. 𝘁𝗏 falling. That's the entire gold lead immediately removed. 𝘁𝗀, he's got a 4th shot loaded, but I don't think it's going to do very much at all because he's got a big monkey coming down with a big old stick, giving him a bonk.
GAM was getting annihilated by BTS of all teams. Everyone expected this to be the comeback series, to be the easy win to end the week for GAM, because they play 2 of the stronger teams, but maybe the issues run deeper, because their team fighting is looking so bad today. They have no chance whatsoever. Everyone just outperforming, and just, not even just individual skill on the side of GAM, also the setup. You just walked into a team that had Ryuk on the Wukong. You had no idea where Wukong was. It's very likely he's going to flank you. You also just overly focused the dragon, even though you're losing teamfights already. You didn't go for all the poke. Yeah, you landed a little bit of poke on 𝘀𝗀, but he just stayed behind. GAM just disregarding and skipping all the steps they have to do to win this game. And once again, I'm asking, are their compositions really good enough to win this meta if their individual play is not much better than everyone else? Because it doesn't look that way. Look at this teamfight. There's just nothing they can do. It's so hopeless.
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing they can do. Levi was soloed out because he was trying to do the smite fight. He pressed his ult as late as humanly possible. It did absolutely nothing. And the rest of this is just 𝘁𝗀 being run down by Ryuk. It's a bit of a tragedy, and I feel like 5v5s, they're not the go. Do you have to just try and move into a 1-3-1? 𝘁𝗏 is still very strong.
I think you have to at this point. 5v5s are just not feasible for them. There's no way they win. This is honestly one of the perfect games to understand why I hate Jhin as a champion, if you just look at the team fights. Well, we don't really have time to dwell on that. So I really want to see them change up their tactics. GAM is not really the greatest side laning team. They have never been, especially 𝘁𝗏 as a player. Hasn't really been the greatest split pushing top laner. We have Yoshino and 𝘂𝗎ros as the premier split pushers, even coated, you could say. But this game he might have to do it. I like this one, shattering 𝘀cie with Levi and just going for picks, trying to get the
They
kills.
have to kill him here, though. They are using all of their map bucks. If he gets away
Levi
from
gets him away
this,
far.
there it is. Oh no, he's flashed away from the Diana ult as well, and the Cyclone with the interruption. It will be another moon forward as 𝘀𝗀 just about goes down, but it took them so long and it took them so much.
Yeah, should be bot tower in exchange. If they get another tower on top of the kill, it's still worth it. Not a shutdown, unfortunately. The shutdowns are on other players, especially 𝘀𝗀. But 𝘀cie moving well around the map and just punishing this move of the two strongest players of GAM, just immediately taking away 2 towers. So in the end, the trade not even that worthwhile. It's just a death on 𝘀𝗀, and you don't even care that much about that. Obviously, you want more items, more tankiness on your Wukong, but as long as he can get flash ultimates into your backline, it doesn't really matter if he dies afterwards.
Exactly. Who cares? You just... Yeah. Exactly my thoughts echoed your way. But BTS is a team that, you know, we haven't been very impressed with either. They are also 0-2. They have been somewhat more competitive than GAM in some of their games. How would you like to see them play this one out? Do they have to just keep forcing fights? Because, I mean, it's kind of working!
Yeah, at this point, just go in all the time. They have so little to stand against you, and you can see this Jhin is just sitting duck. There's nothing you can do. He didn't have any tool available to get away from Drukthar's ultimate, so it's just prime time for Drukthr to spot the Jhin and immediately jump on top of him. Once again, 𝘀𝗀 and Drukthr in perfect synergy. This 𝘀𝗀 Nami is, I think, the best Nami I've seen so far. 𝘁𝗀cie maybe a close contender in game 1 of the split even, but 𝘀𝗀 playing a really good Nami so far, hitting all the bubbles, but more importantly the ultimates to disengage. And this could be the game deciding fight.
𝘀𝗀 has his chains ready. They're moving forward. This is actually a decent start here from GAM as they do hit a very big moonfall out of Levi. They're getting a lot of damage onto Drukthr. They do take him down. It's answered back. Both junglers have been removed. 𝘁𝗀ie incredibly low. 𝘀𝗀 will fall and the cat is left to prowl alone. And 𝘀𝗀kid's only just respawned and he's respawned to an empty map.
And we thought this series would be GAM redemption, but it is 𝘀𝗀 redemption. What a performance for 𝘀𝗀 in these teamfights. Yes, he fell 20 CS behind in laning phase, but who cares? You're Wukong, you're not here to dominate the lane. You're here to dominate teamfights, and his teamfighting on this Wukong has been such a huge tool and advantage for 𝘀cie compared to what 𝘀𝗀 can bring. 𝘀𝗀 is trying his hardest, but the composition is just not on even terms in teamfights, and we see this over and over again. 𝘀𝗀 is dominating this game, this mid-game, I should say, against GAM. Great engage. I mean, GAM is forced to go in there, and they actually do quite well at the start, as you said, mostly because 𝘀𝗀 is forced to keep himself on the outskirts. He can't dive in until now, and now he's in prime position to carry the fight. That is really nicely done from 𝘀𝗀. It was a little bit dicey at the start there, but they got their ADC into the mix, and he's so strong. Another fight is brewing. This could be the final skirmish of the game.
It certainly could be, as 𝘀𝗀, they know exactly where he is, but he is still very threatening here on the Wukong. Drukthr backing him up at the moment. Needs to back off, though, to go be in position to smite. As 𝘁𝗀ie starting it off, they are catching 𝘀𝗀 here. He's put into the dirt by the set, but he's still alive. And, oh no, never mind. I thought he had a GA. He did not. He played Sacrificial Lamb, but they get the dragon in trade, and BTS doesn't care. He's done enough. Levi is trapped in the box. He has a wave thrown at him as well. Drukthr with a big shield. He's trying to get out of there. 𝘁𝗀ie's got a big one as well. But Levi falls. 𝘁𝗀 falls. 𝘁𝗀 falls.
Yeah, and 𝘀𝗀kid in this game, a little bit of a Sven performance. If you think back to C9's last game, he's never on screen with his teammates. To be fair, the fights are not winnable, so it's not really feasible for him to do anything there. But still, a very bad look for 𝘀𝗀kid. Maybe it's stall time. Because GAM was a better team when 𝘀 was here. Maybe it's not the ADC's fault, but I'm not sure what's going on with this team. They are not looking great.
I mean,
at all.
The last game style played, I don't think GAM was better. As 𝘀𝗀mine, he's in trouble, but that Jhin ult angle, they can just both walk out of that. He's just going to die. That, oh my word, this is one of the worst Jhin games we've seen in a long time. I don't like ragging on players, but this is shocking.
This is why you want to play 𝘀𝗀 Nami. It's such an amazing game, but they might just die. I cursed them here. Oh, good
No,
flash.
maybe
Army-
not, as that's a big heal. He dodges the face breaker as well.
Poor
That's going to be a
Elio.
huge 𝘀𝗋𝗄. Elio definitely is gone, but 𝘀rie now moving in, has a stolen set ultimate. 𝘀𝗀𝗋 dodging away from the damage. That'll be 𝘀rie off to the side, taking down the set. Levi, he's been found by 𝘀𝗀 and 𝘁𝗀. It's not worth it, is it, 𝘂𝗋?
I feel bad for Elio. He's having such a good game on Nami. His teamfight positioning is just so crisp. His target selection, and also the way he follows up on every single 𝘀𝗀 engage. Their synergy has been astonishing to watch. No one ever has shown me such a synergy between two champions who almost never would assume there is any synergy between, right? Nami and J4, two very different champions, but every time J4 jumps in, he has the bubble, no, not the bubble, the wave primed and ready, is already on its way, and dealing actually quite a bit of damage itself. It's like 300 damage on top of the burst, and suddenly 𝘁𝗀𝗃 is half HP. You can see it in this engage again. So 𝘁𝗀𝗃, it's hard to judge if this was necessary. It definitely takes all the attention away, right? It's 5 members fighting 𝘁𝗃, and they get the dragon for free. And they are so confident to still go for this fight, especially also because 𝘁𝗃 is nowhere to be seen. Look at this bubble, look at this wave again. 𝘀𝗀 stays alive. There's just no damage, and 𝘁𝗃 is finally approaching the fight, but just to walk away, just to give B a way out. Not a single auto attack in this fight, so really one of the worst Jhin performances we have seen for sure.
Yeah, and hopefully he can redeem himself in Game 2. Of course, the series will not end with merely one game, but so far things are looking extremely dire for GAM. The stat I saw, someone who, you know, one of our little stat monkeys, did say the last time GAM lost 3 series in a row was 2018.
Wow, that is insane. Okay. Wow, they started
3
pretty badly last
years
split.
ago.
But remember, last split, we were flaming them quite a lot in the start, but they got all the serious victories. They lost a lot of games.
They
on
were just
50%.
winning them 2-1.
That's true. And now they're not even winning series. They're not even winning many games. They've won 1 single game so far. And they're on the brink of actually losing 0-2 to BTS and 𝘀𝗀𝗋𝗋. Who would have thought that before this week?
Completely unpredictable, as a Jhin ultimate used just to clear the waves. It's about the best it can do at the moment, as 𝘀𝗀𝗋 is dueling with 𝘁𝗏 on this middle part of the base, as 𝘀𝗀𝗃 goes in a big... This is very, very deep, but it doesn't matter because 𝘀𝗀𝗃 can bring them out with the stolen showstopper. Now they move in, 𝘁𝗏 has a big bar, it's a lot of damage across the middle, but it's just too late, 𝘂𝗋𝗋. You can deal a punch, but you need to back it up, and it was not there. BTS come in, they take the first game off of our projected best team that is not living up to the hype.
And any VCS team still wondering why Lucian Army was a thing in the world. Look at this game. This was the perfect display. One of the best Lucian players, maybe the best Lucian player in our region, and amazing Nami performance, but everyone played well in this game. 𝘁𝗃 redeeming himself. Even after the early dive, 𝘀𝗀𝗃 still kept up the aggression, contributed so much in terms of zoning in the team fights, and of course 𝘀𝗀𝗃, invisible in the early game, 10 minutes without 𝘀𝗀𝗃, and suddenly he steps in, he can't let Rebel down. Wow, what a performance. Sub 30 minutes again, and not for GAM, for BTS.
With that, we will be going to a short break. Don't go anywhere. The VCS English Analyst Desk will be with you soon.
Now is the time, this world is mine. Raise up the lights, we all here tonight, so let's do it right. Yo, we came here to fight. Boy, you already know.
Welcome back, VCS fans everywhere. Back to the old VCS analyst desk, where we can't seem to figure out anything that's going to happen throughout the entirety of the VCS split. I don't know why we have jobs, because I don't think anyone in the world could possibly do a job like this, trying to predict day in and day out what these teams are going to be like. Clockwork, 𝘀𝗀𝗃, GAM has now gone from being our #1 champion winners, supposed to go represent at MSI, potentially supposed to go represent us at Worlds, to now 1 game away from going 0-3 for the first time since 2018.
Yeah, I am at a loss of words. Of course, they still can pick it back up and win this series, and I am confident that they have the skill to do it, but this is an appalling start, even because It seems that their fundamentals are really rusty. The way they set up the objectives with such poor vision allowed BTS to basically enable all the flanks for 𝘀𝗀്c and also the Jin pick in this composition. If you ask me, would you like to sit on Thorns or play Jin against this composition, I would sit on Thorns 100 times because poor DivKid had no chance to play the game. He was always with the Tractor on top, always with the Nami wave on top, and that made it really, really hard. So I don't know what's happening in GAM, but their approach to the game seems really, let's say rusty, unpracticed. I don't know what's happening.
I would actually agree on this. And the sad thing is that they are still mechanically still there, I would say. I mean, they got this 3-0 kill lead. They were 3k gold ahead against them. That they this weird composition of the Jin into 𝘀𝗀 with the Yuumi that is mostly paired with the Diana. It kind of fell apart as soon as one engage went badly, as they were like kind of not really sticking the damage to the enemy team, and then we're just getting rolled over by this team of BTS and 𝘀𝗀. He got absolutely destroyed in lane, let's be real. He played the mid game very well, though. I give him a little bit of credit for that. And gotta say, though, if GAM would have been winning this game, it would have been through 𝘀𝗀 in the top lane because he played it very well in his regard. And 𝘀𝗀 being sick was always our excuse before, and we cannot keep sticking to this excuse because GAM just needs to do more and needs to do better.
I mean, the excuses altogether just need to be gone, right? Like, they're now 3 series in. I suppose after this, I don't think I could give them another real break. Like, if problems continue after this, it is impossible to continue to vouch for this squad. And I'll give them only this week because they're just now readjusting. They're just now coming back from the winter split, whatever it might be. But there are further problems, obviously, even if they come back and win the series, that have occurred during the course of the offseason that need to be fixed. I mean, every single position seems to be off. Their meta read is off. We've come through that position for all things. This is not to say 𝘀𝗀 was not playing that game well. I think Drakthar had a rough couple of early minutes in the game that 𝘁𝗀 kind of exploited pretty well, but then was able to turn it around with some nice ganks. �Ｇlory had some okay play. 𝘀𝗀 obviously came back in his own right. And 𝐴𝑚ini and �elio, they were commanding that 𝘀𝗀. They played the composition the way it was meant to be played and were able to capitalize in quite a bit of it. So my question to both of you now is, is 𝘀𝗀 taking advantage of this because they are a good enough team to take advantage of GAM, or is this GAM really just that lost that they can't even find a way to even find a game plan to come out against the side of 𝘀𝗀?
My opinion, the game plan, I don't have the ideal recipe. Maybe they're just experimenting. This is what the Diana pick suggested to me. But at the same time, I was not convinced by this composition that wasn't really sure which side to pick because half the champion wanted to dive in and half of them wanted to kite back. So, for example, we have seen teams like SBTC or even Flash like going for poke compositions. They can work, and GAM can just default to that, or also maybe go the Cerberus way and pick some scaling late game team fighting composition. They're way easier to execute. No need for fancy stuff. No need for harder to execute composition. Just go back to the fundamentals and get your solid wins down before then moving on to harder composition. So yeah, just make it easier.
And I'm actually worried if they are really mentally there, because as soon as one fight went poorly, it just all fell apart for GAM. And there were like some promise from before, and as we've seen with the 3k gold lead, they established there. And I gotta say, before the first draft, I said I don't really expect too much of them, and I kind of expected nothing and still got disappointed, which is the sad thing here, because I just asked them to draft standard play, normal game of League of Legends, maybe not even too cleanly, and win the series 2-0 or 2-1. And it seems like that's not even working for them, because they have this weird kind of approach to the draft, and they get the lead and they just throw it away. It's just very sad to see.
I agree entirely. We have higher expectations for this team for a number of reasons, and slowly those are falling off a cliff very, very quickly, hoping that this team can try to turn that around as we get into the first stages of the draft. I want to make note, okay, I was going to say Lucian and Nami have not been actually picked up, but here it is. It's GAM actually banning out the Lucian, which is interesting that they're not willing to split up that Lucian Nami. And I wonder if it's not just meta read, but it's meta adaptation, whether DivKid B can actually play that combination to its fullest extent compared to everything else. Part of me also, we talked about this with our casters right before we had come back from the break, talking about comfort and things like, okay, if you're going to bring out Diana, you have to be willing to bring out something like Karthus, right? Like, you can't just sit there and let it sit on the table and take away comfort for some of your like players, right? The same thing with like Urgot for 𝘀cie. Like, these champions that were specialties for these players over the course of the previous splits have to at least be considered for reapproach if they want to get back into the groove of things, because taking, you know, weird off-brand picks for themselves, trying to get some weird meta read, it's just not going to work. It hasn't worked for them at all so far. They have drafted themselves team fighting composition with this 𝘀𝗰𝗏 𝘀𝗀 up against the side of what is now, again, my favorite champion personally for Drakthar in this Talon that's going to be popping out against them, 𝘀𝗀ce.
Yeah, and I think they just banned the 𝘁𝗀 because they just don't really want them to give over the 𝘁𝗀 and pick Nami with something that is not 𝘁𝗀, because that would not be an ideal pick. And this just now leads them to the fact that they gave away the Yuumi, gave away Talon Yuumi even, which is very strong in its own regard. And with TF being banned, you don't have this easy Destiny tool to just reveal the Talon when he's ulting, so you need another counter to really have something as an answer against the Talon. I wonder if they go towards Poppy or something, but I would suggest not to, because then you would leave 𝘀𝗏 or Levi on something that's not a carry, which also wouldn't really favor them. I do, however, think 𝘀𝗏 and 𝘀𝗀 are fine picks, and maybe the Well gives like a little bit of protection against the Talon, but even in this draft, I still have my doubts, so I'm not really sure if the meta approach is really consistent on the side of 𝘀𝗏.
I appreciate that they went for some easier to execute beginning of the composition. At this point, I would expect that BTS, seeing these picks, should focus on trying to set Levi as far behind as possible, much like 𝘀𝑠PTC did yesterday against BNJ, if I remember correctly. So prevent him from being the primary engage by really stopping him in his road to the first item. And yeah, let's see if, for example, they pick some. I would expect then some pick from mid laner that can get easy prio to help Drakthar in setting up these invades and punish Levi in the early game. So let's see if versus 𝘁𝗏 go for something of the likes. Yeah, Syndra, it was something that I would expect from them, but this is taken by GAM, so we need to backpedal.
I'm frustrated because you look at this composition and I kind of like it so far. The 𝘀𝗏 is a little bit off the beaten path just because, again, it doesn't feel much like a Levi champion. But then you consider 𝘀𝗀 was great for DivKid in the first couple of games that they had. B was actually undefeated 8 games on the rel, was 100% win rate on that champion. So I was really excited to see that one come back. And then you throw in the Syndra to composition, and I'm like, okay, you're looking at AoE. We've seen 𝘁𝗀 play melee champions, especially the Sylas, just default to that when everything else is taken off the board, especially when the Zoe is off the board. That's something you go to. Where is my Anivia, 𝘁𝗏? I know you played the Anivia. You've got the AoE setup to put it all together to potentially deny these picks coming out from Ryuk and Glory. But apparently, again, they just default into the control mates that they've gone back to again and again. Gentlemen, we now see the rounded out compositions. I think this is a lot easier to execute on the side of GAM. This time, I think Sky has quite a bit of a composition themselves, but it might be harder for them to try to execute. Final thoughts on these two's draft before we get into game predictions as well, right at the very tail end. Keep it nice and quick.
I mean, I like the lane matchups and the ease of execution that GAM has. Irelia to Gnar is good, Syndra to Sylas is more than fine for them, but they gave over Talon Yuumi, so I'm really conflicted about this. My gut feeling says that GAM will win in this game because of their mechanical prowess this time, because the comp is just that easy. Win lane, win game, make it easy, and yeah, I don't want to take too much time away from clock.
So, Rebel, I know you're a big Drakthar fan, and you need to keep your eyes peeled, because if Drakthar can withstand this early lane and with lane pressure that GAM has, then he's probably in contention for the MVP of this team. I'm gonna predict the GAM.
All right, double prediction for GAM. I think that's a safe bet inside of this game. They seem to have put together a far more cohesive composition than we've seen the remainder of the split. Let's see if our casting duo of 𝘀𝗏 and 𝘀𝗏 will agree with us and see if we can actually get into game number 3 between BTS and GAM.
Well, 𝘀𝗏, I can already point out one thing I know you disagree with, because you looked like someone had just punched you when 𝘀𝗏ce said it, because 𝘀𝗏ce's not wrong. Talon Yuumi is a fearsome combination. when it works, which it seemingly never does.
It's this. Everyone talks about it. Even at the start of Worlds, everyone was like, "Oh God, this Talon champion is gonna dominate." And if you get 𝘀cie on top of that, it's just going to run over games. Then it continues to lose every single game. The problem with the Talon 𝘀cie is, of course, you can see the potential, right? It's an insanely quick champion. He can move around the map. He gets extra stats from 𝘀cie. He gets extra CC from 𝘀cie. The potential's there, and we've seen it work a few times as well. But the issue is, if you have Talon and 𝘀cie in your team, two of your main engage roles, support and a jungle, most of the time, those are engages, will never be engages. It's one assassin and a little bit of extra stats on that assassin. So a lot of teams struggle to set up team fights and fight correctly with the Talon 𝘀cie. You basically have to be ahead to have the liberty to fight or to give Talon all the opportunities. So let's see if they can do it. Usually 𝘁cie not the greatest team in the early game. That was the same in the last game as well. So eyes on 𝘀cie in this game. Can he make the Talon 𝘀cie work?
Potential clash here at level 1 your way.
Yeah, the 𝘀elle, I want to focus on the 𝘀elle. This is a nice brush control. But 𝘀elle in level 1 can be a very tricky champion to pilot, because she's very slow. If you miss your W engage, the mounted W, suddenly you have 200 movement speed, and 𝘀cie Jhin has a lot of burst potential and a lot of fighting potential level 1. So this 𝘀elle needs to be very careful and not overstay her welcome, because if she misses, she probably gets chased down and dies.
For sure, particularly because, you miss, you don't have Aftershock. You are very, very squishy, as you do have to walk away. Ryuk up against 𝘀cie here on the top side. This is a matchup we've seen before. Yoshino got the better of the early game up against Coded. We have to see if 𝘀cie can replicate one of our best top laners.
𝘀cie Aurelia. I think we've seen it once before on the split. I need to check soon. But really not something you would associate with 𝘀cie in the past. So let's see if you can bring it home this time around. Of course, we like 𝘀cie here. He's one of my favorite players. Yeah, 𝘁cie really exerting a lot of pressure. 𝘀cie is close.
This is so smart. This was such a good read. This was such a good read by Levi. I saw it coming as he was coming around from the blue buff. 𝘀cie going low. He's just going to get bonked by Levi. I hope we get a replay with the mini-map up, because Levi made this happen. This was such a good read.
And this already puts a spanner in the works of the 𝘀cie Talon machine, because that's not a good start. He's very far behind now. He used his flash as well. Running flash in the first place, I think the meta has shifted to flash Talon, even though...
Oh, 𝘀cie! 𝘀cie! You can't step back there. It is a flash trade. 𝘁cie goes low, but now there's a fight in the jungle, but the flag and drag gets Levi to safety.
Oh, I want a slow motion replay. Oh, 𝘀cie playing with fire. Oh, I want a slow motion replay of that interaction in mid lane, because I think 𝘀cie actually stepped back to bait 𝘁cie under turret.
Maybe
we'll have to get him there.
Maybe if we get the replay.
That was insanity from 𝘀cie. He's playing on the edge absolutely every second of every game so far.
Well, yeah, he's on the edge of glory. It's a song your way. I know you don't know references. As 𝘀cie has the shove down here in the bottom lane along with B. Should be able to get a tower plate out of the deal here, so it's a good start for the GAM bot lane.
Yeah, it's not quite plating, but of course pushing Aomine off the tower and just off the mini wave. It's always nice. They are low on mana, so can't really go for an aggressive trade. No minimap, unfortunately, it's just the kill. Pretty straightforward. 𝘀cie could have flashed this engage, but Levi can always follow flash. It's hard to do mechanically. Well, you would expect Levi to be able to do that. So, oh, it's another kill on 𝘀cie, and the game is going downhill very quickly.
Yeah,
for 𝘁cie.
Talon, yeah, he is off to a terrible start, and Levi even gets the double as he finds it onto 𝘀cie. And this is the Levi we wanted. Apparently, he's just got to play dog champs instead.
Yeah, dog meta champs, maybe? Early game influencing champions always have been pretty good for Levi, though Levi, of course, traditionally more on the farming side, one might argue, but he's always been good on Lee Sin as well, so he knows his jungle and gank timings. And this is just playing it against 𝘀cie specifically. Levi has double buff, he is so strong in the early game, he has attack speed, he has Conqueror, he has everything stacked in his favor. Does he actually have Conqueror? I'm not quite sure, it's not stacking up, but Levi just getting 2 more kills. He's such a
He does.
huge menace now.
Yeah, I mean, this 𝘀𝗏 is off to such an incredible start at 3-0 at 5.5 minutes. And this is what we need out of this player. He has been disappointing when he's gone for his kind of picks. That Diana in game 1 was a complete letdown. Turns out when you just play 𝘀𝗏 and you just engage, you do really well. But the unsung hero of this early game for 𝘀𝗏 has been 𝘁𝗏. We talked about 𝘀𝗏 playing on the edge. 𝘁𝗏 was doing it too, and he basically, you know, he was the decoy. He was holding up a sign saying, "Oh, come on, come get me, come get me." And Levi was hiding around the corner and caught 𝘀𝗏 twice.
Yeah, he's putting in a lot of work just in the laning phase as well, constantly pushing 𝘀𝗏 under tower and basically ripping him of any option to assist his struggling jungler. And 𝘀𝗏 they still tried to make it work on 𝘁𝗏, but the decoy worked and Levi came in from behind. Levi is level 6 now, he's ahead in experience of his top laners. This 𝘀𝗏, you cannot expect this to be a jungle 𝘀𝗏 kind of power level right now. He is stronger than anyone else on the map.
Yeah, he is extremely powerful, as they will pick up this first dragon. The smite comes in, a cloud stack is claimed as 𝘀𝗏 just gets away from 𝘁𝗏 there. Just a little bit of a trade in the mid lane. Let's do a bit of a check-in on the top side. We do have Ryuk. He's already gone towards that Bramble Vest, pretty much necessary against Irelia, just to slow her down. How do you want to see 𝘁𝗏 approach this one?
Yeah, 𝘁𝗏 is playing a little bit of his own game in this game. He can just stay away from any kind of fight and just try to scale up for the side lane pressure, but no time for that as 𝘀𝗏 is forced off the tower. He needs to be careful. Levi has ultimate ready and flash ready as well, so 𝘀𝗏 really, once again, playing with fire, getting this close to the tower. He has
the Cataclysm. This is a... What are you doing, 𝘀𝗏?
Wow. He just walked up against double burst champions with ultimate ready. I'm really not sure what 𝘀𝗏 expected to happen there, apart from him dying, which did happen, so good job. He made it come true, I guess.
Just complete desync there between him and 𝘀𝗏. I see what the idea of the play was, but 𝘀𝗏 was miles away.
It's still a losing play, though, because look at the items of the enemy team. Look at the burst potential. Even if 𝘀𝗏 comes in, he has no CC. 𝘀𝗏 dies 100% of the time if he stays where he stayed there.
𝘀𝗏 is exhausted. It's a 1-for-1, but it's 𝘀 getting the kill. 𝘀𝗏 now with full control, as he is, of course, the AD carry. B is in poopy pants form, but we'll just hit the recall.
And today's the day of people just completely ignoring being hit by the bullet time, just walking straight at MF over and over again. 𝘁𝗏. Levi see as well. 𝘁𝗏 getting him low.
Yep, Ryuk will go down. 𝘁𝗏 flashing away as well. 𝘀𝗏 just has to parkour out of there.
And this is what we expect to see from the top side for 𝘀𝗏. Solo kills left, right, and center. Look at this, 1-0, 3-0-2, 1-0-1. Everyone popping up for 𝘀𝗏. This looks almost like a luxury game in terms of topside domination. What an insane sentence to say, by the way. And 𝘀𝗏 finally getting back together with their good players in the top side, carrying the game. Look at this gold lead already, 3k at 9 minutes. Now it's time for them to translate that into successful fights in the mid game. They don't even have to full-on teamfight 5v5. It's enough if you just skirmish for some of the objectives. Already starting the dragon stack as well. So this game should be very smooth sailing for the side of 𝘀𝗏.
You'd think so, though, as you said, 𝘀𝗏sky will be able to get this one against the flow. B has to worry about a Predator as they're coming down on him, but there's really no engage opportunity. 𝘀𝗏 just rotating here. Let's see how this 1-for-1 worked out.
So 𝘀𝗏...
we're not going to have time. We're not going to have time. Nope. I have to cast off the picture-in-picture as there is a big engage there. 𝘀𝗏 has gone down. Levi moving forward. 𝘀𝗏 is stuck in the rage cage. Has the stealth to buy himself a little bit of time and using that parkour well. They will answer back. 𝑑ivKid can't get onto him as well as this Talon. It's just far too slippery. 𝘀𝗏, does he have a W? Not in time.
It's another 2-for-1. It's 4k gold now you're staring at. and telling Yumi needs to be ahead to really work its wonders. So this game is getting very clicky, very far out of hand for Sky. They're kind of relying on a big throw from GAM now. I wouldn't put it past GAM. They are definitely prone to throwing a game here or there. But I think in this situation, under this much pressure, after being down 0-2 and already losing game 1, this is where we see the full power GAM, and they should just run away with this game. They are angry now, and you made them angry. That's an achievement in itself, but walking this way, 𝘀𝗻𝗃, probably not the way to go.
No, certainly not. And 𝘁𝗃 plays it well to make sure they do pick up the kill.
Can you
The
not
rest of the
𝘁𝗃
fight
out of...
out of
Can you
the
not 𝘁𝗃?
𝘁𝗏 ult? I assume
Yeah.
not, because it's probably
looked
not
like
the
he
same
couldn't
kind
𝘁𝗃
of
there.
terrain. Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm not a Talon player. Someone might have to help us with that one.
Yeah, it seems
It
like he
definitely
waited
looked like he
for
couldn't.
the ultimate to go away, and then he procured over the wall next to the ultimate. Very surprising. I would have assumed you can procure over that, but apparently not. It doesn't really matter too much in this game. 𝘀𝗀 is playing with more than just fire. He's playing with his own life here. But
Yeah.
fortunately, he gets away.
He certainly does, as he's kind of getting himself back into the game. He's roughly even in CS. According to chat, you can jump out. Didn't
not
look
sure
like
why
he
he didn't.
could. I'm not sure why he didn't. If you can, I do believe you, chat, but weird decision making in that case. He is getting himself back in the game, as I was saying, at least in terms of farm, but of course he is still so far behind his opposite number, as Levi already has that 𝘁𝗀. He has 4 kills, a 400 gold bounty on his head that it's going to be hard for them to ever claim.
And blaming things on draft usually is very bad practice in casting and just as analysts as well. But in this case, I think there's some very legitimate concern for both teams. GAM drafting way better, as they have another dive set up. There's a teleport where it's late.
Yep, 𝘀𝗀 getting smacked pretty hard there by a bullet time, but does disengage. 𝘁𝗀 picks up the stolen Cataclysm as well. It is a Gale Force to take out that talent. In goes Levi with the real one, and they are just cleaning them out. 𝘁𝗀 will die to the tower as a sacrificial lamb, and 𝘁𝗀, sorry, it is actually 𝘁𝗀 teleporting straight to the top lane as the tower will fall.
Oh, how I've missed GAM bot lane dives. Their quintessential play, the #1 thing they did a year ago, but also in Spring Split, coming for the bot dives. Usually a little bit earlier than this, but this is really where you expect GAM to be, underneath the enemy bot lane tower, getting all the kills possible. And now we're looking at a 7k gold lead. It's one of those games, 𝘁𝗏, we haven't had one really, apart maybe from the last game yesterday. But I think it's one of those games where the casting might go downhill because game is not really happening anymore.
Yeah, I mean, in true tradition of VCS English, when we are casting stomps, have you cooked anything interesting recently?
Cooked anything interesting recently?
Yeah. It's often what we talk about when we don't have a huge amount of.
Oh yeah, pumpkin
game.
pie I made.
Woo!
That's the first time. It was very interesting.
Really?
Yeah,
I've never actually had pumpkin pie. I've never had pumpkin pie because pie is not a dessert in Australia. But let's have a look at this replay as it was another immaculate GAM dive.
Yeah, really nicely done. Look at the champions from Sky. They're just too squishy. They can't stand up for long enough for the tower to really stack up. So, unfortunately, they all die very quickly. Once again, the Jhin just limps away, can't help his team. What a great champion. The Jhin decision for 𝘀𝗻𝗃, I mean, I am the certified Jhin hater, but even more so in this team, because 𝘀𝗻𝗃 is by far their best player, together with 𝘂𝗎o most likely. So picking Jhin for your main carry player is just a very questionable move. 𝘀𝗀, of course, has some claims as well to that position, but this game so far, he hasn't really showed us anything to contest the best player moniker, but yeah, I really don't agree with their draft choices in this game. It's too squishy for me, it's too conditional, and I hope Sky goes back to the team fighting style. They've always been a good team fighting team. The traditional full-on team fighting team, they are by far the lowest combined kills per minute team, or at least were last season, and all their wins would come in late game team fights. So just stick to your guns, add a little bit of early game aggression, of course, in play, but maybe not in pick.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, I feel. I do think both Sky's going to be able to bounce back from this one pretty easily. We are writing them off. But I think that is justified as they are nearly 8,000 gold down at 15 minutes. Were this solo queue, I think I know what letters would be going into chat roundabout now.
Yep, 15 minutes of it. Will we see the professional AFF? I mean, this is one of the games where I really think it could come in to not further damage your mental. Just reset, say, okay, coach, what did you do here in the draft? Flame the coach, players did nothing wrong, and go into next game. Of course, that's sarcastic, but there's a lot of draft coming in. But yeah, I think the best for the players would be to think ahead to the next game already, because overly focusing on this game might be more hurtful than it is helpful in the long run. Drugs are finally stealing away another thing, but
𝘁𝗏 doing well.
So bleak.
He has a stolen Vanguard's Edge to play around. He uses his own to hold up 𝘁𝗏 for a moment, but he's got 4 men on top of him.
No,
but
okay.
He doesn't get away, but with B moving in with the Magnet Storm, do they want to make something of this? I don't think they can.
Yeah, unfortunately, the transition to Magana just in time so Ryu could pose a threat and disengage everything that GAM maybe had in store for them. So it's just a relatively clean kill. They invested a lot of resources, but honestly, GAM doesn't really have anything to do on the map right now. So it's a free kill, even if you have to invest 4 people. And you get 𝘁𝗏's flash as well, which might bode well for the next couple of minutes. There's a dragon coming up in 1.5 minutes, and that one is 3rd Drake already for GAM, so potentially something you have to fight if you're 𝘁𝗏.
Okay, 𝘁𝗏. Now, there's not a huge amount to break down here. You're doing your absolute best, because GAM has just absolutely run BTS over. So, I want to ask you something. Do you remember what the union-mandated game time was in the last split?
Well, I
from
think it
GAM?
changed at some point, right? We had 26 minutes in regular season.
26 minutes. It was 26 minutes for the regular split. It's regular split. Union guidelines haven't changed.
True.
Will they end before they would be getting union-mandated overtime?
I think this game is firmly within control of the Union, and we might even get a few minutes extra to spare for the next game to go a little bit longer, because I think this one looks more like a 24 kind of game.
Okay. I was trying to get you to make your fabled time predictions there. So 24 minutes is Oracle 𝘁𝗏's prediction of when this game will end, as GAM are walking down the mid lane here. There's absolutely nothing BTS can do about this one. This will be an inner tower picked up for absolute free. 𝘁𝗏 is summoned after it falls, so this will be an inhib tower as well. But 𝘀𝗏, I mean, okay, he's not even going to go for it. No. I mean, I thought maybe you throw something at the wall and see what sticks. Professional FF. But they choose not to. They're going to get a charge on the next tower.
Wait a second.
I mean, I don't think they can end, because the Rift Herald will just get
𝘁𝗏.
Yeah, very good smite there.
Well, inhibitor's down, so we know taking mid inhibitor at 18 minutes. It's time for the comeback for 𝘁𝗏.
𝘁𝗏 might not be having the best game of League of Legends right now, but if my solo queue teammates are any indication, he's probably having a really good type racer game right now, as he's rage splitting up in the top lane.
He is, but to be fair, there's not much they can do in team fights.
It's probably the right call.
Rage splitting, this is actually the one time where rage splitting can accomplish something, trying to get 𝘁𝗏. Okay, they actually teleport to protect the tower, not funnel more gold into 𝘁𝗏. I like this decision because they've already achieved everything on the map, so they were free to teleport up there. And why would you give them anything? Don't give them a finger. They just let them bleed out completely. Of course, the super minion waves are going to come in, so that's free resources, but it's also free pressure for GAM to constantly reinvade the topside jungle and set up for the Baron. It's 1 minute away. And this is the next big objective and probably the winning push afterwards.
But 𝘁𝗏, what you fail to realize is versus 𝘁𝗏 is going to lose this game. But they're practicing for when we move to pre-season patch. When they play like this with objective bounties, oh boy, they're going to be dominant.
There we go. I mean, they're the team by team.
Yeah, exactly.
Potentially. Just generally looking, zooming out a little bit.
He'd do it.
zooming out a little bit from this game, I think generally in this week we have seen less stompy games overall. The VCS always used to be a very one-sided game kind of region with a lot of stomps, a lot of early game snowballs. Of course, a lot of throws as well, because teams aren't really comfortable in the late game, because they never play late game in scrims, most likely. They barely do so on stage, so that's to be expected. But this week, we've had a lot of close games, especially when it comes to the mid-game. Some of them have still ended in 30 minutes, as 𝘁𝗀 just evaporates 𝘀𝗀, and now every threat on the Baron is gone. They just get the Baron for free. 𝘁𝗀 putting in some extra hours to make the game end a little bit quicker. And with the Baron, they should just set up the last push of the game. Already have one inhibitor down. Top lane Wave is hitting the tower very soon, so GAM doesn't even bother to recall and use their gold.
Why bother? They didn't take damage. They just. I mean,
it's always the safer play, but at this point,
of course,
they're so far ahead. It probably doesn't matter.
Yeah, this is a bit of a brutal stomping here. GAM not happy about losing game 1 and potentially losing a 3rd series in a row, as let's play Spot the 𝘀𝗀. He's gone.
Well, that's one of the issues with the Talon. From behind, he's just not really a champion, and he can't contribute anything. If you're behind a Jin Zhao, you can still kind of try to peel for your AD carry. You can still try to maybe catch someone out at a little bit of CC. If you're behind on J4, you do the same. If you're behind on Lee Sin, you can always look for plays. If you're behind on Talon, you type /FF and go next, because that's all you can do.
Really? That's all your Talon's type? Jeez, they use a lot more slurs for me. As 𝘁𝗀 will pick up this blue buff, and I mean, they did end up backing and resetting, but they, I don't think they even really needed to. I think they could have just forced a 5v5, but they're playing it safe. They'll push in this bot lane, and there's nothing BTS can do about it. As you said before, let's zoom out a little bit from this game, because we are just watching the death throes of a wounded beast. If GAM pick up this series, and of course there is another game to play, it doesn't decide that, how is their split looking in your mind?
Bad. Very bad. But at least it would be a little bit of a respite. Not losing to Sky would go a long way to actually make playoffs still possible, because the playoff race is looking pretty tight right now, with starting 0-3. You don't play that many series, honestly. It's
Oh my god!
Oh, that's huge from Heroic, though.
Yeah, it's a big flank coming in, but they really only kill one. It's just Wallet, Diff, 𝘀𝗀 will manage to get one back as well. Pad his stats just a little bit as he escapes towards the fountain. Elio, are they on him? I can't quite tell. There it is. The crash down will do it. It's supportal combat as the wave comes in the mid lane, and they will be able to finish this one. 𝘀𝗀 desperately trying to hold out the last stand, but it just doesn't matter. They have Baron, they have minions, they have game 2.
Okay, I need 20 more seconds, please. GAM, someone delay them. 23 minutes.
No. We don't do rounding in this league your way. We don't know that kind of math. As 𝘂𝗶𝗶 manages to miss Jin shots that I'm pretty sure anyone could have hit, but the Nexus will finally go down. GAM are your victors. It's a 1-1. It's a long day your way.
And finally, a glimpse of the GAM we all expected to see against bottom tier teams. They've always been the blowout team, dominating games from start to finish, starting in the laning phase, of course, already winning all the lanes, and then Levi comes in to finalize those kind of deals. So 23 minutes, very confident victory. They should be the ones to be favored in the last game, but you never know. They've been shaky, they've been twitchy in their performances, and we need to see them be more consistent. This is the first step in the right direction. So let's see if they can finalize at least one serious win at the end of week 1.
We'll find out soon with the VCS English analyst desk. We'll see you in about 5 minutes.
Welcome back to the VCS Analyst Desk. That, of course, stands for the Vietnamese Clockwork Desk. That's right,
What?
ladies and gentlemen. We're all
What is?
clockwork nowadays. As GAM finally goes on their winning streak that you had predicted at the beginning of this split. But big round of applause for our analyst Clockwork, who predicted after only a few series, after only a few games, finally their win streak would finally commence as we get our first turnaround for what was our championship team in what was dominating fashion. Somehow and in some way, this was the team that we expected to be playing in every single game this split, not just in the second game against BTS, but I guess better late than never, right, 𝘀𝗀𝗃?
Yeah, better late than never. Was a really good game by GAM. Win lane, win game. The talent Yuumi that I was a little bit worried about did absolutely nothing this game. I mean, when you fall down 4K in 10 minutes, it kind of happens to be that way, right? I mean, he also got, like, I think twice solo killed by 𝘁𝗀𝗏 in the early game, and yeah, that's the opposite of a correct start for the talent. So, yeah, all my worries were basically nullified immediately by GAM, and yeah, they just need to keep their tracks up and maybe just do something like this again. Maybe they won't get it again because the draft will, of course, be adapted by BTS in this game, but let's wait and see what they have up their sleeves, because, I mean, this was more of the GAM we expected to see coming into the split.
Absolutely. You might have noticed that at some point during today's broadcast, I happened to be muted. I was actually in call with 𝘀𝗀𝗃, GAM's analyst, and I told him to pick easier composition, and he listened to me, and it worked. So I take part of the praise. Good job, Clockwork, and good job, GAM. Jokes aside, they started again from something way much easier, and it worked really well. 𝘀𝗀𝗃 got incredibly punished, and we have seen again 𝘁𝗀𝗏 at his peak. And yes, this is exactly what GAM need: some fine composition to let their players shine and start picking up the wins again. They're undefeated from now.
Yes, of course. 50% on that, right?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Either they do or they don't. So it's 50-50.
Everything's 50-50, whether you do it or you don't. It's phenomenal. I like that they went back to a strategy that we are comfortable with GAM, where it's like, okay, their bottom lane is a little more downplayed. That's kind of how it was with Style and B starting in the previous splits, and they can focus really heavily on 𝘁𝗏𝗃, 𝘁𝗏𝗏, and 𝘁𝗏𝗏, most importantly, being kind of the focal point on the top side, being pretty much where all of the resource is going to go in the early game. So walking into game number 2 now with the first, the potential of taking this series after a lot of competition over the first 2. Is that what BTS needs to combat? Do they need to attack topside and make sure that's going to come to to a screeching halt? Make sure that 𝘀𝗃𝗃 isn't just bullied out of the jungle on the talent pick or whatever it's necessary, or is there some other strategy BTS should go to? Do you think this was flash in the pan from the side of GAM?
I've been calling it during I think Cerberus series a couple of days ago. Yesterday. That there's a pick that I really want to see in case you want to play with a weak side top laner, which I think is what BTS should at least think about, and that's the Sion pick. It's good in the patch, it's not very hard to pick, and it makes sure that your top lane doesn't need to be played around, very hard to die, very hard to abuse. So just park Ryu on that pick, let him stay safe, and then you can focus around maybe your mid lane with 𝘀𝗃𝗃, applying pressure to 𝘀𝗀𝗃's lane, and then roaming to, for example, the bot lane and set up 𝘀𝗀𝗏𝗏. So this could be like simple strategy, simple plan that can work very well, and maybe BTS can think about that.
And to defend 𝘀𝗃𝗃 a little bit there, in the first game he played very well, in the second game not so much, but in the second game he didn't really have lanes to work around, right? I mean, that was basically 3 losing lanes with the talent who was basically, where do I really start to gank? Like, he has no CC on his side, he needs some setup with his lanes, and that's just not what BTS had. They need to pick stronger lanes and lanes that actually work well with his jungler, and that's not something they had in this second game. But game 3, yeah, we get to have another chance at the draft, and let's see what the adaptation will be from BTS, because, I mean, they have shown in game 1 especially that they are up to the task to challenge GAM, because GAM, at the moment, they are somewhat back, but they are not back fully yet. So, of course, you need to attack them while they are down, because otherwise they just rise back up. It's a little bit like zombies, right?
Mm-hmm. We'd like to see them actually win a series first before getting really into the GAM hype train. So there is that. got to win the series first before anything else. If you let it slip at this point, also you have to imagine the kind of damage that it will do to the confidence that GAM's going to carry into the remainder of the split. Imagine that you're on the side of GAM, your favorites to win the split, you're the #1 team representing the VCS, and you end up going 0-3 after such a competitive series against the likes of both Cerberus and then also against the side of BTS in the very last game of the week. It seems very, very unlikely to be able to bounce back easily from that kind of thing. Now, as we step into game number 3, the draft altogether, I kind of like from the side of Burst this guy, they realized how powerful that the Jarvan was the first 2 games. They didn't want the B1 Jarvan coming out here, which would have been a little bit on the nose, I think, from the side of GAM. They go for the Twisted Fate instead, let 𝘁ci roam out and about, and that means that Drakthar is going to go for the likes of the Lee Sin.
For sure, and they also left Yuumi open, and I think in general this is a draft that, aside from Yuumi being open, is much more of a meta draft. I'm sure you will be very happy to cast this game in this regard, because 𝘁ci gets Twisted Fate, there isn't enough failures on the enemy team, and this looks much more like an actual game of League of Legends.
Indeed, and here we see some interesting AD carry picks. The Aphelios suggests me that BTS want at least to try and go for some scaling composition, which again, maybe teamfight is the way to go. Very much simpler than trying to snowball against the supposedly best early game team in the league, the former champions. And also on the other side, we see 𝘁𝘁 for one of his pocket picks in the Tristana, really fast at smashing towers, which is probably coherent with GAM's usual train of thought of getting all the towers early and then dominating the map off of that. And the Viego also, I think we have never seen Levi play the Viego. Correct me also, other analysts.
No, you didn't have the chance, but in spring it was so bugged that it was disabled, and just now in the last few games there hasn't been a Viego for him.
Yeah, this is our first opportunity to see Levi on the likes of the Viego. And it's a little shocking that we haven't seen it, because in terms of farming junglers outside of maybe Graves, this has been one of the bigger ones. Just the ability to kind of scale up and become this absolute menace across the board in a number of different ways that is pretty much unmatchable in terms of both farming strength and also dueling strength. This feels like a perfect champion for Levi as it pertains to the way he tends to like to play things out. Notice, if you will, solo lane, at least mildly absent, waiting to try to get Ryuk a counter pick. I think that ends up getting wasted, unfortunately, for the side of Burst the Sky, all things said and done, since they already know that Twisted Fate's going to be heading into the mid lane. I love the fact that we get the Tristana, and you ready for some craziness here? All right, stick with me, right? What are the first 2 letters of 𝘁𝘁? DI. What does a V look like upside down? It looks like an A. How many letters are in the word kid? 3. You know what other word has 3 letters in it? 1. Dia1. It's Dia1 the entire time. That's who it's been in the ADC role, and they're letting loose that opportunity right here as the Tristana gets locked for this team. This was all that they played in 2020, was this AD mid lane Tristana with Dia1 pretty much all the time, and it's seeing its head once again here for the side of GAM, going back to their roots.
Oh, Rebel, I see that your extreme brain, like your shirt, takes the color of your brain, and that is absolutely on point. On the side of BTS, though, I'm seeing 2 things I really don't like. One, the biggest one, is Ryuk's cannon. One of the least impressive cannons in the league so far. But the other thing that is a bit puzzling is the Rakan pick. When Thresh was open, and you already picked the Aphelios, and we're following up with a Yasuo. So I'm really not sure what BTS are cooking up here. The support picks, especially confusing, but the follow-up with the Yasuo, they have the only AP damage source is the Ryu. This is, I don't know what mental tricks do I need to come up with a rebus, but this is some kind of spelling for tragedy, not Dia1 on the side of BTS.
Yeah, certainly echoing that statement. I mean, they also have the Rakan when Leona's open. They banned 𝘀𝑚 and Jayce to prevent both getting counterpicked, because they fear the Jayce into cannon and the 𝘀𝑚 into Rakan. But Leona is basically almost the same champion as well, let's be real. So it really is not looking good in the bot lane and in the top lane. Gnar versus cannon is kind of very similar, so it's not a matchup that Ryuk should lose hardly, but knowing the player's performance, I would suggest that 𝘁𝑗 likely wins that as well. And yeah, there is not really something where the cannon really strives here, and I think this time GAM has the edge for sure.
Okay, I mean, we're getting into a situation where once again it feels like Levi might be downplayed. 𝘁𝗀's going to have to attack side lanes. We're relying on 𝘀𝘀 once again, the way we had in a couple of the prior series, which is not really the way they won in the previous game. So it is a little bit of a departure and more towards stuff that they've done during this split. Really quickly, gentlemen, final game of the entire week 3. Who takes the series? One word: GAM or BTS?
GAM.
GAM. GAM, both of them. Both our analysts united on the front that GAM will take the series and they will end up with their first win here inside of the winter split. I want to hear what the opinions of 𝘀𝗋ₛ and 𝘀𝗈 are after the mental flashbang that is a 𝘀𝗀 Yasuo. So I'm excited to hear what they have for them on the call here in our final game of the week.
Well, our analysts seem to think that GAM are a lock, but I think that 𝘀𝗀 has a key. As he picks this Yasuo up, he's going into the mid lane. You love to see it. It's such a Vietnamese champion. It's a champion these players will pick when it's completely off meta, when it has no setup, but they do it anyway. And I've got to say, I think this composition for 𝘀𝘀 fits what they want to do. It's just a fight comp.
Can I enforce our, or enlist, I should say, our stat monkeys to check how many games 𝘀𝗀 has played on Yasuo? Because if I remember correctly, he's one of the Yasuo players that play, or the VCS players that play the most Yasuo in official games. We've seen him before for sure. So let's see how it goes. I'm also very excited for this one on screen right now. Levi Viego. It should really be a GAM champion. I think the reset mechanics, the profiting from just one kill and snowballing the fights, that's exactly how GAM likes to play. They have so much setup for him. They have Leona in, they have 𝘀𝘀 assisting with the bomb, and so much more to get Levi going. So I think this could really be the Levi breakout carry performance we all expect and have seen so much. This, yeah, in the VCS, of course.
Yeah, but he kind of has to here on this Viego. He is a huge part of this composition. If this Viego doesn't get rolling in team fights, I think GAM is going to be in trouble. But of course, Tristana is there as a strong backup, and we can see the strength of this Tristana. You are a very prolific 𝘀𝗻𝗄 player your way. How does this matchup go?
Oh, Tristana. Well, it goes kind of like all Tristana lanes go. If she gets the all-in, it's good for her. If not, 𝘀𝗻𝗄 slowly wins and gets pressure. The bigger problem here is actually the support matchup, I'd say, because Leona, as the desk pointed out, and we can see on screen right now, whoa,
Elio in a lot of trouble. 𝘀𝘀 does jump forward, but there's no punishment for it. He's just going to take a little bit of damage. Both summoner spells from Rakan are gone.
Yeah, that's true. He was barely out of tower range there. That was pretty close. But yeah, of course, the Leona into Rakan is just so dominant for Leona in lane, and that just gives Tristana the opportunity to do whatever she wants, which means the matchup is much more in Tristana's favor than it usually would be. Usually 𝘀𝗻𝗄, once he gets on one item, is safe against Tristana, can even fight back. But in this support matchup, I think bot lane is firmly for GAM to control, and 𝘀𝗀 just has to scale. You, of course, can rely on Aomi in a late game of 𝘀𝗻𝗄s. We've seen him played before. It's one of his favorite champions. Not quite Lucian and Caitlyn level, but you can't really play Caitlyn, so 𝘀𝗀𝗄 has kind of taken over that spot. And I expect great things from this AD carry. Not the greatest start in the bot lane, though.
Not at all, but they are bouncing back just fine. They caught the wave, so this 𝘀𝗻𝗄 should, you know, he'll scale up. He will do 𝘀𝗻𝗄's things, as Levi has a little bit of a gander towards mid, just helping 𝘁𝗀 shove everything in. 𝘀𝗀 just going forward, very bold, as he's sticking his neck out while he knows that Levi is close by, but he's not punished. He's doing it with calculated aggression.
Our lovely stats people have already gotten all the stats for 𝘀𝗀's Yasuo. He's played 3 games last year, and he won 2 of them, lost 1. They always played together with the Gragas, so this is a little bit of a deviation from that one. Of course, Lee Sin has a very similar setup, and then you can also rely in the late game on Rakan engage, so there's still a lot to work off of, but not quite the traditional BTS Yasuo composition. Let's see if he can make it work. It feels a little bit like a Hail Mary to me, honestly. Like, okay, we can't beat GAM, let's try to just break something out and maybe surprise them. Maybe they fall prey to one of the Yasuo combos in the late game and just win the game. But they can prove me wrong, just play a solid game and win with the Yasuo anyway. I'm intrigued.
Look, we'll have to see. Yasuo, he is very strong in Ruined King, so maybe he's good in League of Legends as well. I wouldn't know. As he is being pushed in at the moment. In fact, the wave is just being pushed back, I should say. But Drakthar and 𝘀𝗀 are both here. B on the roam as well. So this is just going to be a shove-in for 𝘀𝗀 as they want to get a reset. But B, very threatening on the Leona. They have to respect it.
And 𝘁𝗀 is close to 6, so no action before 6, really. 0-0 in kills. This really gives GAM the opportunity to open up the first play of the game. 𝘁𝗀 is in a decent spot in lane, not really winning lane, but he's not expected to in this matchup. So he's just getting away with it, scaling to level 6, and now it opens up such a huge opportunity to go for a kill. 𝘀𝗀 is very low on HP, could be a prime target. In bot lane, 𝘀𝗀 has no flash, so he should be the #1 target on the map. There's a huge X on his back, and I think a huge X mark. Let's see how they cover against this very easily predictable gank. You can already see 𝘁𝗀 moving down there. He's level 5 though, so 𝘁𝗀, check your XP bar.
Yeah, this is just, he's not cheating. He's not doing the TF cheat.
Why wait for the
6?
fate
Just
destiny?
walk. Exactly. He's out here shaping his destiny, not waiting for it to be given to him. But it doesn't work out in the end. He goes back to lane. Nothing ventured, nothing lost. So AMNA just continues to farm up. Has a strong gun combo for defer.
As well, 𝘀𝗀.
Discouraging any dives. 𝘀𝗀's getting absolutely smashed out. He has to exit this fight. There has to be a knock up here for Yasuo to go off as it's a party in the bot lane. 𝘀𝗀 comes in with the slicing maelstrom, but Levi with a good flash away. How has nobody died? It's 10 people in bot lane and it's 0-0.
Yeah, I can tell you why. 𝘀𝗀's ultimate was never used. They never got the knock-up. And the big problem is Drakthar is still level 5. If Drakthar is level 6 there, GAM just loses the series. There
was no knock-ups.
Yeah, no knock-up for him. 𝘀𝗀's engage was a little too early, too far away from 𝘀𝗀. Maybe 𝘀𝗀 was hesitant to use his ultimate too. So in the end, they have an amazing opportunity for a team fight that could open up the whole game. But they don't get the knock-up. Drakthar is only level 5, can't use his ultimate to make that super easy for his mid laner. 𝘀𝗀 doesn't have his knock-up of his own, so in the end, everyone walks away, and GAM on a 1k gold lead without a single kill on the game, just dominating all the lanes and especially the jungle.
Yeah, absolutely, but there is going to be a second round because, of course, 𝘀𝗀 didn't use his ultimate. And as we go on, there is the more guaranteed combo of the Lee Sin Yasuo. Just go on whoever he kicks, and that's a lot of upfront burst. If he can get onto someone like 𝘀𝗀, 𝘁𝗀, or Levi, it should be a pretty easy assassination. They have to execute it. It's a lot easier said than done your way.
Yeah, and 𝘁𝗀's ultimate is gonna come off cooldown before 𝘀𝗀's flash is, and that is the biggest opportunity they can ever hope for. It's such a squishy champion, it's so easy to kill. Throw the Levi in there as well, and it should be the easiest kill setup of all time. I don't even think 𝘀𝗀 can really do anything to prevent this from happening, so it's more about either counter ganking or finding the opportunity on the other side of the map. Or you could just make the game about an objective where all 5 members show up, which weakens the cross-map abilities for TF. So I really like this proactive move from 𝘁𝗀. Just make the game super linear. Everyone is at one objective. They can't get surprised.
And they do pick up this Rift Herald. No contest from GAM. 𝘁𝗀 being forced back. They need to come up and do something to help out 𝘀𝗀. He's already kind of getting destroyed in the top side. And it's just going to be a full lane swap, so they don't help him at all. They throw him to the dogs.
Yeah, look at the CS gap. He's so far behind. He had to sacrifice so much here to be in bot lane in time. They're already losing so many plates to 𝘀𝗀. He's Tristana, so one of the most prolific champion when it comes to pushing the towers on their own. They're losing this play so horribly hard. They don't even use the Herald.
This is horrible out of BTS, and oh no,
Oh,
Ryuk
beautiful
has been
rotation.
caught. There's the Heartbreaker. He does get the stun, but can he actually outrun Levi? He certainly can.
Ultimate available from
way.
𝘁𝗏𝗏.
Your way, I'm feeling weird. We're 9.5 minutes in and there's no kills. I'm feeling weird, man.
And 𝘁𝗏𝗏 held onto his ultimate. We are watching VCS. Are we really? There was 1 HP target without flash on the map in range of the Destiny gate, and he didn't go for it. Who is this player?
Who is this player? As they do still end up losing out 4 plates for 0. 𝘀𝗏𝗋 got no plates in the top lane. This is a disastrous early game because, yeah, it's no kills. I'm feeling very strange, but it's still a 2,500 gold lead for GAM.
Exactly. How does this happen? This never happens in GAM games. They're ahead because they get bot lane dives, get the tower, and get so many kills that the game's just over at 8 minutes. They don't get ahead just from macro. What is going on? And laning, of course, as well. 𝘁𝗏𝗏 smashing Ryuk so insanely hard. Look at that CS gap.
They do finally summon up this Rift Herald as 𝘀𝗏𝗋 uses that white gun to get some tower damage in. DivKid tagged up by Q, has to respect it. But it's just going to be gold distributed amongst the 3 members of BTS. They catch up a little bit, but it's still dire your way.
Yeah, finally, they get to use the Herald and get a little bit of gold back on 𝘀𝗏𝗏. But sadly, they had to also give some of that to 𝘁𝗏, so really not the target you want. He's not the Enchanter kind support where you're happy to give a little bit of gold over. Rakan doesn't really use it too much.
Look at
Everyone is suffering on the map. Yeah,
Look at the top lane CS.
But jungle as well.
mean-
Jungle is 35. That is not supposed to happen at 11 minutes. Look at Levi CS. He's back.
Oh,
Broggy, be
here we
careful.
go. They're going on Ryuk. He is going to try and clear the wave as much as he can. Getting away. There is a Twisted Fate coming on in. There's the gold card. And finally, it's First Blood. And who else but Levi?
And Ryuk is still the target. Look at the flash timer. It's still on cooldown. So even though I was talking about this 4.5 minutes ago, it's still true. It's still a super easy target on the top lane. Ryuk is finally isolated again. Still no flash. Wasted his ultimate there in desperate hope that somehow the heavens help him and he gets away, but there was no chance whatsoever. Easy kill, and Levi gets accelerated even more. Look at his items. Du-du-du-du-du-dum. Because there's the first item.
If you're
There's the
excited
first
about our
method.
First Blood, use the hashtag Verizon 5G all chat to get read out on stream. Let's have a look at the replay. It was a textbook dive. Nothing Ryuk can do.
Yeah, using all the resources they needed. 𝘁𝗏𝗏 at least gets an assist, even though he was barely in the play. But he came in from the side, so Ryuk couldn't escape to the second tower. And this game is textbook, and this game does not look like VCS. This is 1 kill at 12 minutes, but a 3k gold lead. 𝘀𝗏𝗏 style GAM, I've never seen this before, and I'm still confused. I have no idea what I'm supposed to make out of this.
It's the 𝘁𝗏𝗏 effect. They've just coach diffed him. He's managed to tame the wild horses of GAM, put them back together and said, no, you watch the second best region, you watch the 𝘀𝗏𝗏𝗏. You do that.
Well, let's see if they still have the hands to walk it home, because this game should be super comfortable and easy. But there is always a little bit of wombo combo potential. The enemy team has Aphelios and Yasuo, plus Cannon, even though Cannon will not really contribute any damage, because he's in 71 CS. But he still has an AoE stun to set up the AoE kick into ultimate from Yasuo. So it's always a little bit scary. It's in the back of your mind. There could be a huge throw, and if you lose 1 or 2 team fights, suddenly it's getting really scary for GAM, because then suddenly you think about Bo3 and what an amazing position you've been in this game before, but that's still very far away.
If you lose team fights with a 60 CS advantage in top lane, 40 CS or 30 CS advantage in the jungle, and a 20 CS advantage in the bot lane, like, you deserve to lose at that point. If you manage to lose that team fight, you kind of deserve to not win the game.
It's very true. Also, Yasuo, even though a lot of people like to play him, I'm really not a fan right now of Yasuo. I've not seen Yasuo really do anything in any of the games I've seen him. Yone is a different thing. I think Yone can be super strong and snowballs insanely hard, but every single Yasuo I see just goes out with a whimper. barely doing anything, even if he gets a few kills early. So don't even think his scaling is that amazing right now. Maybe you can prove me wrong, but yeah, this champion overall, I'm not a fan. I'm not convinced. Let's see if 𝘀cie has something to say about that.
We'll have to see. Like, he does have a lot to prove. He's very far behind on tempo at the moment. Obviously, not so much on farm and gold, but he has no mythic. They haven't made a play yet, and you really do need to see your 𝘀cie getting off to a good start, or he could be in a lot of trouble as here comes Twisted Fate. 𝘀cie will be caught up.
Oh.
𝘀cie has been absolutely destroyed by a Tristana bomb, so there is no chance of a fight back. There is chance of escape.
Oh, and there's the next 3 objectives. They've only lost 1 Rift Hold so far. That doesn't show up on the scoreboard, so we are actually on track for the perfect game. Have we ever seen a perfect game in the VCS? I can't remember.
I think once or twice. I think we have seen 1 or 2. 𝘀cie is getting caught out. They're going to turn it around. There's no knock-up, though. He still can't ultimate. There it is, finally, but you can't go in on that one. 𝘀cie getting chunked in on. 𝘂𝗓𝗓 will pick up the kill. Here we go. Your way, red, white, do not fight. As 𝘂𝗓𝗓 can kite this one back. 𝘀𝗓 finding a way in, but he gets Tristana ultimated, and 𝘀cie will pick up another. And suddenly, BTS have swung something for themselves.
Oh, many years! Yeah, it's red-white, don't fight. It's still red-white, by the way, but the ammo is running low, especially on the red gun. White is still here. And we have another engage.
That we do, as 𝘁𝗊 has just been absolutely destroyed. 𝘂𝗓𝗓 and 𝘀𝗀 putting it together to keep themselves in it.
And suddenly, the kill score reads 3-1 in Sky's favor. They don't know about the golds. Of course, they can see the item disadvantage, but this has to feel pretty bad for GAM. They're 1-3 behind. Their stats, their KDAs look bleak. Even though they're still in a very much a winning position, suddenly the game is turned around, at least feeling-wise, and at least coming from a team that's already struggling to pick up a single series. It's getting more and more realistic that they might throw this amazing early game, and BTS could walk away with a 7 TCS cannon at 15 minutes.
And well, this is one of those things where, despite the fact that we know GAM is ahead, GAM will know they're ahead.
Exactly.
They can read this and go, yeah, you know, we're ahead, but they don't necessarily know exactly how much, and they may begin to misjudge things because, yeah, they look at their score. Each individual player looks at his score, and it's not that impressive, so they don't feel as confident as perhaps they should. As let's have a look at this replay.
The start looks really bad for Sky. They miss all the opportunities for the big knockouts, but then Levi wastes his ultimate. He gets exhausted immediately. 𝘂𝗓𝗓 eliminates 𝘁𝗏 on the sideline. No one even noticed that from GAM, and 𝘁𝗏 wasn't even there. 𝘂𝗓𝗓, the fight is basically over at this point. Levi is completely useless. Gift Kit dies for free, and everyone has to flash away. Then why does GAM step back in? What do they see? I think they see 𝘁𝗏's Narba, and 𝘁𝗏 is calling, okay, I'm super strong. I can go for this. But the coordination and just how you deal with your own resources is really bad from GAM, because they should know they can't win the fight. And speaking of fights, here we go again.
That we do, as they've gone in immediately to Big Cannon ultimate out onto 1. 𝘂𝗓𝗓 has been destroyed, but he did manage to get that dragon. They're entering back. It's 𝘂𝗓𝗓 once again trying to carry a fight as 𝘀𝗓𝗓 will pick up one as well. But 𝘁𝗊 says no. Slams the 𝘂𝗓𝗓 into the wall. It's now a 2v2, but health bars are in the favor of GAM. 𝘀𝗓𝗓 and 𝘀𝗀 want none of it, but 𝘁𝗊 hasn't said goodbye yet. Tag onto 𝘁𝗏, he is the lower member. I think that will call this one off, but 𝘁𝗊, he's just not stopping. You need to be careful at some point. They could turn it around as 𝘀𝗀 going back in with the Gore Drinker proc, but there's the gold card, gets wind-walled. They manage to get on out.
3 for 3, but the most important part, GAM does get the dragons, and now on Soul Point, this puts huge pressure, not only on the next dragon, not only on the 5 minutes from now, the setup and being there in time, not dying right before the dragon spawns, it also puts pressure on the vision on the top side, because Baron is on the cards too, and now GAM in a really strong position map-wise, because their Baron damage is quite good. They could just trade the Baron and push in bot lane way with the TF. How did this all transpire? We didn't see the start. Guy is trying to find an angle for 𝘀𝗓𝗓's ultimate, but unable to do so for
Levi
now.
steals the dragon, which is huge.
Yeah, it's huge. And too focused on just the enemy support, I think, in this case. Usually I don't really like to talk about target selection or focusing, as some like to see it. to call it. But in this case, they were just overly stacked on just the enemy Leona, using all the tools, and this hurt them dearly. Now, not everything's lost for 𝘀cie. Of course, they are under pressure now, but 𝘀rie is getting his items together, and he's working towards what looks to be a Stormrazor, potentially. I'm not quite sure where he's trying to go with this. Maybe it's just one dagger to get a little bit more cooldown reduction, but he's scaling up. He's getting stronger and stronger. So is 𝘀𝗻𝗄, both level 11, so second ultimate. Same is true for Ryuk.
𝘀𝗻𝗄 has my eye. The top side has gone disastrously for BTS. There's no other way to put it. It is a collective 140 CS lead between the two roles. Yeah, that's pretty brutal your way. But it's still a Lee Sin that can just press kick to get glory in. And it's a Kennen that at the very least can hit some stuns and let your 𝘀𝗻𝗋 carry. GAM, still heavily favored in this game. I don't want anyone to misunderstand. But 𝘀cie are finding the best possible way back in. But GAM are not having any of that as they find it. They take down 𝘀𝗻𝗄 before he can heal up with that red gun. Now they have to get out of there. It's only the one so far. They're going to go under tower. And now 𝘀rie has the chance to turn this one around. There's the knock-up into the 𝘂𝗀, but it's immediately stopped. He can't get it done. Gets the big shield out of that shield bow, but it's not going to be enough. He's taken down, as is 𝘀𝗀 and GAM. They opened the gate only to snap their foot off when they stepped in.
The downfall of 𝘀cie in the last game, in this game as well, is walking too close to dangerous territory. 2 times in a row, 𝘀𝗻𝗄 has been caught just walking back to his own territory, and yeah, GAM pounds. They immediately catch him out. He has no way of escaping, no flash, no cleanse. Try to gale force away, but that's not enough. And that's a Baron for GAM that opens up the game. 5k, 6k gold lead, now 7 even. And this should really be all she wrote for the series and GAM's very first best of 3 victory. Why don't you just walk the other way? Why walk... This is such a silly mistake to make after such an amazing game, and even serious, you could argue, for 𝘀𝗻𝗄. He dies twice just to auto-pathing, or pathing incorrectly. It's one of the stupidest things to die to, but it might cost them the series.
It's very, very silly, and it truly has put them in a dire situation. That Baron buff is going to give GAM all... Oh my god. Okay, he's dead. No, the shield. Oh my god. The shield, I think it might have saved him your way.
Yeah, now it's almost unfeasible, because the Baron is down and the Dragon is spawning in 40 seconds. They have full control of everything. The Dragon needs to be contested, really, to have any chance in the team fights, because that's another combined 4 or 5k just in terms of value for the extra shield. So the last-ditch effort is coming. It's approaching very quickly, and no items have been completed in the meantime. Or at least no relevant items. 1 item completion for 𝘀𝗻𝗄, but it doesn't really change much of the playing field. So this Yasuo is still on 1.5 items, moving closer and closer to Infinity Edge, but it's not there in time. They're giving up this dragon, choosing to gamble on the next one. The Elder Dragon will be their last chance, but we're not even sure it's gonna spawn, because GAM is very close to the victory.
I'd be very disappointed if GAM let it spawn. This is something, I say this all the time. If you're this far ahead, don't let Elder Dragon spawn. It's the one way the enemy team has a hope in hell of getting back into the game, so don't let it spawn. You 100% win right now. Don't make it 95%. Just don't. Just win in the next 6 minutes. It's not that hard when you're this far ahead.
Yeah, definitely not. They have the Baron is running out in 50 seconds, and they might struggle to really crack open the base, so they might have to rely on the second Baron. I would like to see them at least chunk one of the towers. They really focus on the outer turrets of the series, not really going for the inhibitor tower in mid lane. So a little bit slower than you would expect from GAM. We're already at 24 minutes too, so not quite the dominant performance we saw last game, but still in a really strong spot. There's IE though, finally finished for 𝘀rie, so fight now or never. Probably what 𝘀cie has in their minds.
Yep, and this they really do need to do it now. They almost need to do it before the next reset from 𝘀𝗀, because no doubt they're sitting on quite a lot of gold. They're going to give it a shot, apparently. I think it might have been 𝘀𝗀 calling for it, though, as 𝘀𝗀 will go down immediately to the 𝘁𝗀𝗀, give him that reset. There's the first knock-up into a bigger 𝘁𝗀𝗀, but that's just a little bit too far behind. They will pick up 𝘁𝗀𝗀, though. But look at 𝘁𝗀𝗀, he's got the resets. He's hippity, he's hoppity, he's coming for your property as they move into the base. He does go down in the end, but it does not matter as 𝘁𝗀𝗀 will beat 𝘁𝗀𝗀 to death. On the other side of the fight, we have 𝘀𝗀𝗀 taking on B and 𝘁𝗀𝗀. They're playing it safe. 𝘁𝗀𝗀 somehow dodging every single boulder. But 𝘀𝗀𝗀 finally falls, and BTS have been destroyed.
But this is the much more important fight, and 𝘁𝗀𝗀 finally gets the kill on 𝘁𝗀𝗀. What a wild goose chase there. 𝘁𝗀𝗀 almost getting away. He actually had his flash still to go for a little bit more distance, but instead he just gives up the kill. The game is probably over after this one. It was dicey for a second there. The 𝘁𝗀𝗀 was starting to stack up his white gun, getting stronger and stronger. 𝘁𝗀𝗀 is too tanky. 𝘁𝗀𝗀 is not really on the item power spikes yet to get rid of 𝘁𝗀𝗀 in time. And then also posing so much threat with all the CC in his arsenal. So in the end, a confident victory for 𝘀𝗀. It's not really for anything, to be honest. They didn't get a single objective of this, but we know the fight is the main objective in the VCS, and they accomplished that one very nicely.
That they do. And 𝘀𝗀 definitely looks like they're going to be putting their first series win on the board. Let's see how this team fight went oh so wrong.
Yeah, look at 𝘀𝗀𝗀. He's actually in a good position here, and 𝘁𝗀𝗀 dies to him very quickly. He's using blue gun instead of stacking up white. Maybe a slight mistake there, trying to get the burst of the blue gun. But I think white could have been a little bit more helpful to kill 𝘁𝗀𝗀 in time. In the end, it doesn't matter. He would have died anyway to 𝘁𝗀𝗀 in the end. 𝘀𝗀𝗀, he's trying. He's really trying. But B is pesky. He's just sticking on top of him. 𝘁𝗀𝗀, I think he could have tried to flash away, but...
Yeah, but why bother, right? What's your flash doing here?
To be fair, the flash engage might be the one chance at the Elder Ring if they ever get there, so...
Exactly. Like, you're not going to defend anything if you live, so who cares if you die, right? I respect hanging on to the flash. Gives them a hope in hell in this end game scenario. They have one inhib down. The bot lane now under threat as 𝘁𝗀𝗀 spooks around in his ghost form. This 𝘁𝗀𝗀, very threatening in this game, though. 𝘁𝗀𝗀, it must be said, has not been the carry in this one, much like he was in the last on that 𝘁𝗀𝗀.
Yeah, not the most impressive
Tristana gets to see a tower.
He has never played this champ before on stage, and this was not really the breakout game you would expect from 𝘁𝗀𝗀, from the veteran in the jungle. Not the greatest. Some of the early ultimates I really didn't like. The one teamfight they lost around the second Rifthold was basically on him overextending for a full HP ultimate and then not having anything left to really continue the fight. So there needs to be a little bit more practice from 𝘁𝗀𝗀. I still think theoretically and conceptually this champion should be amazing for not only 𝘁𝗀𝗀 but also his team. They like to play a lot for the one kill, for the one reset mechanic. The Baron started, but they want to deviate. Oh, and there's the engage.
Oh, no. Ryuk, you can't get caught by the brush like that. It's a disaster. The cannon is dead. They're on top of Amine. The game is over your way.
Hey, I mean, his ultimate got rid of the Mountain Drake shield. Nice.
Woo! Exciting.
Almost dealt damage, unfortunately. It did.
But your way. This is it. 𝘀𝗀 has finally bounced back. They lose their first two series, but no one ever tells you that you can beat 𝘀𝗀 3 times in a row. They haven't done it since 2018. They will continue not to do it, as they will take down BTS. Their 2 wins were absolute stomps, as they have a bit of fun on the Nexus, getting a little bit of extended revenge for Game 1. There it is. It's finally over, and 𝘀𝗀 are on the board with a win.
Starting it close today, once again losing the first game, and it looked very dominant for BTS, but finally they put on the monitors. It was time for them to dominate again, and 2 games in sub 30 minutes followed. Big domination for 𝘀𝗀. This was really impressive in the last 2 games. There's a lot to clean up, and BTS is not the team you're looking for amazing performances against, but it is a good start. And remember, we have barely any time off, so GAM really needs to get into the groove. Already with 2 serious losses, this is one of the worst performances in regular season. I know it sounds insane, but usually they go 13-1, so 2 serious losses is already a bad start. In the end, they have a lot to learn, they have a lot to improve, but they're finally here, and GAM wants to compete in the end.
With that, we will head back over to the VCS English analyst desk and stick around because we do have a bit of a surprise coming after they've had a chat, so don't go anywhere. You'll want to watch this one.
Welcome back to the VCS analyst desk as we have finally seen GAM come out of the slump. They win their first series of the entire split. It was hard fought. It looked rough in that game number 1 as BTS came out swinging, but finally, 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀, we get to see the champions reclaim at least a little bit of the former glory that we expected of them.
Oh no.
Oh, 𝘀𝗀𝗧.
Oh no.
Oh no! Oh, that's so
Oh no.
tragic. See, he's screaming so loudly during. He's applauding. Yeah, he's got to give some applause to GAM because they have gone winless, or my apologies, lossless. He's going 100% from this point on. His prediction continues. 𝘀𝗀𝗃, thoughts on the GAM series? I mean, what a day from them, right?
What a day for them. I mean, it looked really lost after the game 1, and they managed to have some mental resilience, which I kind of doubted in between the series because it looked really rough in the first game. I mean, they had the lead even there, then they kind of collapsed after one bad fight, and it looked really bad for them. But yeah, what I also regret saying was before game 3 is that there was really a lack of Yasuo knockups. That 𝘀𝗀𝗧 had this one bot lane skirmish with 10 people where nobody even died, and he didn't get to ult, and it was kind of sad to see. And yeah, game 3, GAM was basically, as one of the casters said, turning their monitors on, and it's a relief that they are finally back on the scoreboard. And imagine if they hadn't been. 3 losses in a row would have been something that hadn't happened in 3 years, and yeah, it's probably glad to be back on the side of GAM, I would say.
I'm not sure if 𝘀𝗀𝗧 is actually on the phone or if he's doing a bit right now. It's kind of tough for me to tell with him every once in a while, but oh, is he? He's phoning his performance. That's a good one,
He's
Spoons.
a
I
phony.
appreciate that. Now, talking a little bit about BTS, who obviously just lost this series. I mean, they came out swinging in game number 1. They clearly had some semblance of game plan, and you can see what happens when you actually are able to let 𝘀𝗀𝗃 get in and about on the map and kind of attack things as much as possible and open up things for, I mean, 𝘀𝗀𝗍 looked incredible for this series. 𝑎lio had some really great performances as well. 𝘂𝗀𝗃 is 𝘂𝗃. I mean, he's still 𝘂𝗃 pretty much no matter what. But 𝘀𝗀𝗃 has
Rough.
actually looked improved every single series, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, even the last game, it didn't look as lost as in the second game. I mean, they lost 4 platings in the bot side of the map. They lost both lanes pretty handedly in the CS department. But then they still had these team fights where it looked like somewhat promising. Even like at the third Drake fight, when it ended 3-3 in kills and Levi stole the Drake. If he hadn't done it, it would have been a winning fight for them, despite this disastrous early game. And I think that definitely speaks in their favor, I would say. And what I also like about them is especially the bot lane, like 𝘀𝗀𝗍, he plays 𝘀𝗀𝗃. How can you hate this guy? He's at least trying to play the meta. It doesn't always work, but he's on his way.
𝘀𝗀𝗃, thoughts on BTS and how well they've done since what we saw in the first versus up, down, something like that? Down? Not like in the BTS team. Man, that's upsetting to see. I can understand that, again, this team comes in as one of our previous bottom teams, and they really have shown us nothing more than simply being able to ride the line of that 7th, 6th place spot, somewhere in there. But I think, honestly, like a little bit of growth has been shown. They came out of that first series, in my opinion, earlier in the week, and they looked completely lost, like they had absolutely no clue what to do. And against the side of GAM, who, again, they are only at 1 win so far. They have not showed us that they are a top team. But at minimum, it seemed like there are ways for 𝘀𝗀𝗃 to attack the map, which is quite nice. And coming back to GAM, of course, for their first series win, is it something they can build upon? Because, again, that first game was a little bit disastrous. The second game was dominant. Third game looked pretty good, and it felt like Levi was returning to form now with a couple of these picks. The 𝘀𝗀𝗃 being aggressive and the 𝘂𝗀𝗃 being really good. 𝘀𝗀𝗃, thoughts on Levi and the 𝘂𝗃𝗃, the 𝘀𝗀𝗃, his ability coming back from the beginning of the split. You're a big Levi guy. All right, 𝘀𝗀𝗃, what about you?
Same, actually. I mean, I also like that he finally picked up the 𝘂𝗃𝗃. I mean, it's one new champion to his arsenal. He already was kind of the jungler that, despite being very strong, was known to not really pick the meta champs. We know him for his Gragas, for his Castles performances mostly, or back in the days, the Grace, when Grace was not really a thing in VCS much. He was kind of inspiring the other junglers to play it somewhat, I would say. And we also saw him on Jarvan earlier. Some said it was kind of a dog champ. I wouldn't really call the current Jarvan something like this, because with the 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 Sterak's build, he's kind of more of a battle rod or even a strong carry jungler even. And yeah, Levi showed up today, especially in games 2 and 3. The Diana, however, yeah, it's kind of a Clockwork would do this side for this, I would assume. And yeah, let's not talk about the Diana too much.
No, instead, let's actually jump to, I believe, our producer, who is an absolute smurf, by the way. Thanks to Spoods very much inside the chat. Show us the ratings for the entire week, because we actually just finished our first week of games, and we get a look at the standings as they show about here inside of the Vietnamese Championship Series. What do we have, like 4 weeks of regular season, something like that? Like, this is the first week completed, 5 weeks, my apologies, of regular season. So we're already 1/5 of the way through the entire split in only 1 week, and we get a chance to look at how the standings are actually sitting in ways I think that are a little bit different than what we would have thought. First off, 𝘀𝗀cie #1, undefeated. I'm excited for some of the games against like Cerberus, SBT, Saigon that are coming up. I said that at the top of the day, but that's an exciting little development as well. I want to see teams like Saigon, Secret, GAM, and see how they're actually going to fall against some of the other competition, whether or not GAM can actually make that climb. Any teams stick out to you, 𝘀𝗀cie, I suppose, on this list at least?
I want to say Team Secret might be a little bit too high and 𝘀𝗀cie a little bit too low. Maybe they should like flip positions, because strength of schedule is a real thing. I mean, we can also maybe show the results page where the schedule has been shown. 𝘀𝗀cie has played pretty strong teams so far, if I remember correctly. They had played against GAM, and yeah, they. Which other teams were it? I don't have the photo right. I remember they were strong. It was they played what was it? 𝘀𝗀cie at the first day, who's the top team right now, who hasn't dropped a single game, and the other team they played. Yeah, I mean. It has been 𝘂𝗏, who's not like one of the absolute top 2 teams at the moment, but also one of the stronger teams for sure.
Absolutely. Clockwork, you want to give us 1 through 8, which team it is that you're looking at from like top of the list to the bottom of the list, if we could get that back up so that poor Clockwork can actually give us a number and give us a rating up or down that we should look for. Number 1? Okay, 𝘀𝗀cie. And you think they up number 1? Okay, number 2. Cerberus? Okay. You're just repeating our rankings here. Is there any actual take that's going to come about? 3? Okay, who's our third? This might be the important one. SBTC, okay, you think the standings are good the way that they are right now? That's incredible. That's perhaps a much more bold take than I would have expected out of you. Although this is, of course, the person that predicted that GAM would go completely, without loss for the entirety of the split at a 50% margin. I apologize, Clockwork, that your microphone went out, but we appreciate the work you did all day. You as well, 𝘀𝗀cie. Having these 2 analysts have been fantastic. We have been the VCS analyst desk. We actually have a short snippet at the end of this, which is going to be coming up. We have an interview with 𝘀𝗀𝗃 that's going to be performed by 𝘀𝗀𝗋. Big props to them. Big props to the cast for today. Our first week of the VCS is done. We couldn't be more excited to continue bringing this on. We'll see you back here again on Tuesday, hopefully. Stick around, of course, for that interview with 𝘀𝗀𝗃. My apologies, the analyst for GAM that stepped in this split, as we will be right there in just a second. And we appreciate all of you for joining us this first week of the VCS split.
Welcome back, and we have 𝘀𝗃 here. I'm so happy to have our first official, or kind of official, interview on the stream. Of course, 𝘀𝗃, welcome to the stream. You have been here, of course, before on the spring finals, and now you're actually here as the analyst of the winning team today. It was a little bit of a struggle. Can you walk me through the games and your thoughts backstage when you watched your team lose game 1, but then smash game 2 and 3?
Yes, the first thing of all, we but the session not actually that good. We have a lot of mistake. The point of our mistake is we going too deep. We going so far in the fight. We always want to fight everybody. We don't want to give up any moment in the game, and so that's how the enemy team has got a advantage to coming back and fight back to us. So We talk about it a lot, and now we decide to have a pretty short fight every single game. We fight like 1-2 step and then we back 1-2 step, then we back. We take a little of the advantage and then we increase it like a little, and just time by time, and we end the game better than the past.
Yeah, I was very surprised to see GAM play such a slow early game in the last game, right?
Yeah.
First blood was at, I don't even remember, 10 minutes or something? Super late. So is this more the style you're trying to get GAM to play more consistently, or was this just because of the champions in the game?
Yes, now we want to play around objective. We play around the win condition of us. So we don't want to take any risky play like solo on land or whatever. They play. I want they to play together. I want they to play like they prepare for everything and then they start a fight, not just the surprise. They just want to fight and then they fight. I don't want to. They play like this.
Okay, that's interesting and good to hear. We haven't seen GAM before playing this or this objective focus. Most of the time, GAM has been a very aggressive team, so I'm intrigued to see what you're going to bring for the next weeks. But let's go back a little bit in time and talk about the matchups of this week and just the overall league, because GAM started 0-2 in series, and that's very surprising to most of us. So we started with a game against 𝘀𝗶𝗹𝗀𝗀, one of the potentially strongest teams, and then 𝘀𝗀cie as well. Which of the two teams do you think is stronger right now, and will GAM beat them in the future, this split?
For me, 𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀 is more stronger than 𝘀𝗀𝑠, but both of them, we face when we face them again, we will win. Is my promise
Course.
for you guys.
That's good to hear. But 𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀, especially in the early game, has gotten much better. Do you think 𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀 is the second best team right now in the league, or at the end of the split? If we think GAM is the best team, do you think 𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 is the strongest contender for you guys?
Yes, they might be the one because I don't think that SGB better than 𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀 this split.
Interesting. Okay. And 𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀 for us is the big surprise, right? No one expected 𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀 to be this good. They're 6-0, not a single game lost. So you think it's just a little bit of first week luck, or do you think they can continue this performance and maybe be a contender too?
Yeah, I want to say this for because of the execution of us. So, but maybe they play this session without any pressure. They play freestyle and then they surprise us. But also we have a lot of mistake, and then they play like very under pressure, and then they play like aggressive. They surprise every team that they face. I think that's how they have a 3-0 the first week.
Okay, so maybe a little bit of a flash in the pan instead of being able to stick in the top. We're going to see. We all look at 𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀 now with more interest than before, I'd say. So
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you if you're comfortable talking about this, about the ADC position right now on the team. We saw 𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗀 come into GAM, and of course 𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀 played before in the bot lane, and they looked really, really good when they played before. One of the strongest bot lanes for EVOS. So now they're reunited. Is that a factor while you're playing 𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀, or is he just performing better in scrims than style? What's going on there?
Yes, the first on after the time that we scream a lot, we decide, as you can see, the first game 𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀 play, the second game is die. So that's how we work now. 𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀 play first game, then the second is die, and as you can see, maybe the next game of us die will coming up. Uh, Part of them is pretty good, and no mistake, nothing. They just want to, we just want them to play with the confidence and the most comfortable they want to play.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I like both of these ADCs. So is there a difference in is it just two ADCs both playing well, or is there a little bit of a team difference as well? Do you like to play different styles with the two players, or is it just okay, today you perform better, so you get the spot, but in general you're just two very similar players?
We just have no different from them. I just
Okay.
want they to have the spirit of I want to be the man. I don't want to be a sub. I want to training very hard, very hard. We just want that from them.
Okay, so a very healthy competition for the ADC spot. That's good to hear as well. I mean, ADC is probably the position with the least strategic depth to go for one player or the other. I'm looking forward to see if either of them maybe picks some mages as well to differentiate. You should not answer this, of course, or not give a comment to this, because yeah, it could be giving away some of the things. So, of course, I'm not quite sure how much you want to talk about this, but we heard rumors before the season started about 𝘀𝗰𝗋's well-being, and I am, of course, a big 𝘀𝗰𝗋 fan, so I'm a little bit worried about him. Is he doing well again? Has he recovered? Is he ready to go for the whole split?
Yes. From now on, 𝘀𝗰𝗋 is already ready for anything is coming because he's coming back. He's healthy. Everything is good now. You don't need to worry anymore.
That's very good to hear. I'm one of the biggest 𝘀𝗰𝗋 fanboys, I think, so that is reassuring, and I hope GAM can show us that as well. So I think my final question is going to be about the meta. We've seen so many changes, and especially in the jungle position with Qiyana and Talon, maybe even Zed on the horizon.
Yes.
We haven't really seen that much out of Levi in terms of new junglers. He played the Viego, of course, right now. That's new for VCS, but pretty old for world standards. So can you maybe tease a little bit of the meta? Are we going to see the Zed jungle? Are we going to see the Talon jungle? When is Levi going to dominate with those champions?
Yeah, I give you a little detail that we already prepared for them, but it's just not the time to bring them out.
Okay. Well, so we can bait. We can sit with bated breath and wait for them to finally show up.
Yes.
Okay. That's good to hear. So then, of course, I want to give the stage to you. Do you have anything you want to say to all the fans still tuning in or maybe watching this as a VOD? Once again, thank you so much for making this happen and actually coming on to VCS
Yes.
English.
So the last thing I want to say is I want to thank you for everyone who supporting us. Even though that we got a really bad start, but I promise you guys we will coming back pretty strong and we will be a champion this year.
Wow, okay, strong words from 𝘀𝗀𝗃. Thank you so much once again for coming on. And this will conclude our 30-game week. We had 6 days, 2 series every day. That's going to be true for the next few weeks as well. So you only get 1 day off to try to recuperate from all the action. Then Tuesday we're back with the next games the next week. More GAM games, of course, more games from Cerberus and 𝘀𝗀𝗋 to follow, and see if BTS can bounce back. Thank you very much for watching. Have a nice weekend, have a nice Monday, and of course, remember you can support us, sub to the channel, or maybe try to. You can also, of course, donate. You can follow us on all social media, which you can find down in the stream. That's it for the day. I'm signing off, and have a good night.